Chapter 868. When Su Sha arrived at the White Deer Manor, she saw that the door of the manor was tightly shut. She couldn't help but frown. What's going on? Su Sha knocked on the door, but no one came to open it. What's going on? A voice sounded from behind Su Sha. Su Sha subconsciously replied, I don't know. He's been like this since he arrived. I've never seen him before. After Su Sha finished answering, she turned her head around because she felt that the voice sounded a little familiar. Li Zongjiu. When Su Sha saw Li Zongjiu, she immediately cried out in surprise. Did you see a ghost? Li Zongjiu couldn't help but say. It's not a good habit for a lady like you to call out in broad daylight. You just came back. Su Sha saw Li Zongjiu's travel-worn appearance and was a little surprised. No wonder he didn't reply to so many of her messages. Li Zongjiu wasn't at home at all. Yeah, what's going on? Li Zongjiu blasted the door open with a palm. What did Xiao Xiao do? She actually closed the door so tightly. Could it be that something was stolen? Who's there? Lu Pei and the other guards immediately rushed out when they heard the commotion at the door. When they saw that it was Li Zongjiu who walked in, they were stunned for a moment. Young master, you're back. Lu Pei's heart was filled with excitement. Li Zongjiu looked at these people who were on tenterhooks and were on high alert. It seemed that something big had happened. Something big has happened. A few days ago, young Master Li Baichao and the others had a conflict with someone in the city and were detained. Miss Xiao Xiao found Tai Feihe, but even Tai Feihe was injured by them and is now lying here. Miss Li Yan asked us to close the door and not go out for the time being and not accept anyone's visit. Lu Pei said. Someone actually dared to come and beat him up. Li Zongjiu was thoroughly enraged. With his current reputation and temper, it was fine if he didn't provoke others, but now he actually dared to detain people from his Li Zongjiu family. They actually dared to touch my Li family's people. These people don't even need to think about living. After Li Zongjiu's rebirth this time, the first and most important thing he understood was to protect his family and clan. This was the true meaning of Li Zongjiu's rebirth and continued to cultivate. Now, someone had taken advantage of Li Zongjiu's absence to make a move against the Li family. Who are they? Su Sha asked. Logically speaking, such a situation shouldn't have happened. Indeed, Li Zongjiu's reputation in his city wasn't simple. Now that such a thing had happened, Su Sha really wanted to know who the other party was. The Ancient One from Lingbo Hall. When she heard this name, Su Sha's entire face almost fell. How could it be the Ancient One? Lingbo Hall was a small alchemy club in the city. It was said that the people in this club were all important figures in the future Sacred Flame Imperial City. It was said that there was even a prince among them. That was why the situation this time around was so serious, and the situation was also extremely unclear. Li Zongjiu didn't care who these people were. After all, these people wouldn't live to see the next day. Li Zongjiu, who was in a rage, appeared to be exceptionally calm. Nangong Wuji and Heng Shisan were said to be out. Since the other party had come at such a coincidence, it was either a real coincidence or they had come prepared. Li Zongjiu first entered to check on Xiao Xiao and Tai Fei's condition. Their injuries weren't too light, but they weren't too serious either. In comparison, Tai Fei's condition was more serious. After all, Tai Fei was stronger and more threatening. In addition, he was also an important figure in the Li family. Most of Li Zongjiu's matters were handled by Tai Fei. Therefore, he naturally had to beat him up more ruthlessly. Li Yun also personally refined a few elixirs. She knew that Li Zongjiu and her master, the King of Fire, had gone on a long journey together. Therefore, although Li Yun was extremely anxious, she knew that she had to keep everyone calm. Therefore, when Li Yun returned this time, she directly ordered the manor to be temporarily closed. No one was allowed to go out and make trouble. The enemy was so strong that it was impossible for Li Yun and the others to take action. Everything could only wait for Li Zongjiu or Nangong Wuji to come back. You've worked hard. Leave the rest to me. Li Zongjiu looked at the tired Li Yun and patted her shoulder. You must bring Bai Chao and the others back. Li Yun held Li Zongjiu's hand and said. Li Yun also knew about the power of Lingbo Palace from the information of Thousand Machine Workshop. The people inside were all very important figures. Li Baichao and the others didn't deliberately make enemies with these people. It was even a trap to deal with Li Zongjiu. Don't worry. I won't let anyone bully the Li family. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. His eyes were also filled with a cold and sinister intent. This matter had already touched Li Zongjiu's bottom line. Li Zongjiu took action and stabilized the injuries of these two people. Then, he wrote a prescription and asked Lu Pei and a disciple of the Li family to get the medicine together. With this, their injuries could be healed. At the very least, they wouldn't be in as much pain as they were now. They will at least wake up tomorrow. Only after they take the medicine, will they be able to recover. Li Zongjiu said. Li Zongjiu, this is no small matter. Listen to me. Su Sha hurriedly said when she saw Li Zongjiu turning around and preparing to go to Lingbo Palace. After all, Li Zongjiu was an honorary elder of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. You are an honorary elder of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Now that your family is in trouble, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion will naturally step in for you. Why are you in such a hurry? We will definitely give you justice. Justice? Li Zongjiu glanced at Su Sha. What's the use of justice? Whoever dares to touch my Li family, I will kill them. Whoever stops me, I will kill them as well. Lu Pei, when I return, I will leave White Deer Manor to you. If anyone dares to cause trouble, kill them immediately. Lu Pei immediately roared, Yes, young master. Since Li Zongjiu ordered Lu Pei to kill, Lu Pei naturally wouldn't hesitate in the slightest. Now that they were in White Deer Manor, it could be said that they had already obtained a lot of benefits. Their strength could even be said to have soared by leaps and bounds. Anywhere else would be as comfortable and worthwhile as Whitestag Manor. You. Wait a moment, Su Sha was extremely anxious, but she also heard Li Zongjiu's words. Whoever dares to stop him, he will kill them. No matter who came, it would be useless. Therefore, Su Sha didn't dare to stop him now. What's the matter, boss? While Su Sha was anxious, she suddenly saw Kun Erisher, whom she hadn't seen for a long time, walking in with a girl. It was Shui Yu. Go kill a few people. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. It seems like Kun Erisher didn't know about the situation here. Today, he only wanted to bring Shui Yu to Li Zongjiu, but when he saw Li Zongjiu walking out with a murderous look, he knew that something had happened. I will go with you. Kun Erisher said without hesitation. Then, he said to Shui Yu who was beside him, You wait here first, I will come back to pick you up later. No, big brother Li Zongjiu saved my mother, his matter is my matter. Shui Yu immediately shook her head like a rattledrum. Kun Erisher knew that Shui Yu had a stubborn temperament, and he also understood in his heart. Then don't cause trouble. You know who you are dealing with. Su Sha saw that these two people didn't even blink and wanted to go with Li Zongjiu to cause trouble. They were really brainless. Miss Su Sha, no matter where we go, even if the boss wants me to break into the Forbidden City, I, Kun Erisher, will definitely not blink an eye. Chapter 869. When Su Sha heard Kun Arashi's words, she was shocked by the determination in Kun Arashi's words. After that, she was almost angered to death by Kun Erisher. What was the meaning of this? It was simply too stupid. How could anyone have such stupid thoughts and ideas? Of course, Su Sha was also worried about this group of madmen, so she immediately followed them. Since she couldn't stop the three of them, she had to at least persuade the Ancient One and the others to put down their arrogant attitude. Everyone had to discuss this matter properly. If they were to clash head-on, the situation would become very bad. As the four of them walked, Li Zongjiu had already obtained the map from the Thousand Machine Workshop. Just as he was about to move forward, a woman appeared in front of him. However, he saw a woman in a white mermaid dress standing in the middle of the road. She seemed to be trying to stop Li Zongjiu and the others from advancing. It's her. When Kun Erasure saw the person in front of him, Li Zongjiu didn't stop walking and naturally walked forward. If the person's purpose was to stop Li Zongjiu, Kun Erasure would have to take her down. What are you doing here? When Li Zongjiu saw the person in front of him, he asked calmly. No matter who stood in his way today, Li Zongjiu would cripple them. Even if the Heavenly King came, he wouldn't give them any face. I know what you're going to do. Qi Yanran said. The person standing in the middle of the road was the genius girl of the Qi family, Qi Yanran. Obviously, Qi Yanran knew a little about this matter. So, Li Zongjiu looked at Qi Yanran in front of him. Even Qi Shaohun couldn't stop Li Zongjiu, let alone Qi Yanran in front of him. Li Zongjiu didn't care about beautiful women. Once they died, they would be a pile of bones. There was nothing beautiful about it. Therefore, even if you were beautiful, you wouldn't be of much use to Li Zongjiu. I'll help you. Qi Yanran said. Su Sha looked at Qi Yanran expectantly. These stupid men didn't know anything. How could Qi Yanran, the eldest daughter of the Qi family, not know anything? Not only did she not help to stop Li Zongjiu, but now she even wanted to join Li Zongjiu's troublemaking. Su Sha couldn't believe it. Knowing that what Li Zongjiu did was wrong, she still wanted to continue to do it. This matter had happened rather suddenly. In addition, the Lingbo Palace had dealt with it extremely quickly. Even a place like the Heavenly Pill Pavilion had not received the news. However, Qi Yanran knew about it. This meant that Qi Yanran was also very concerned about the matters of the White Deer Manor. Kun Erasure and Shueyue came. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to know. Especially in this city, Kun Erasure didn't have much power. Li Zongjiu was also stunned. Although Li Zongjiu didn't know the origin of the Lingbo Palace, Su Sha had said that these people were not to be trifled with. Qi Yanran was obviously more clear about it. What kind of people were in the Lingbo Palace? It was not Qi Yanran's business, but Qi Yanran chose to join. Even if he didn't understand, if Qi Yanran wanted to follow, he would let her follow. The Lingbo Palace. It was located in a garden in the north of the city. This garden was specially designed and built, so the scenery was very magnificent. However, the Lingbo Palace was able to build a manor with a small bridge and flowing water here. This showed the strength of the Lingbo Palace. Otherwise, how could they set up a private club in such a place? The master of the wave overtaking palace was always changing. In Lingbo Hall, only those who had the most potential among the youths in Monarch City were qualified to enter Lingbo Hall. In other words, the Lingbo Palace would take the initiative to recruit you. The Ancient One had been a member of the Lingbo Palace for a long time. There were only a total of 7 people in the Lingbo Palace. These 7 people formed a strong group that could almost represent the highest level in all aspects of the Sacred Flame Royal City. Therefore, it could be said that these people completely disregarded everyone else in Lingbo Palace. They did not place anyone in their eyes. Brother Chen, I don't think that kid with the surname Li is anything special. We have captured all his tribesmen, but he didn't even dare to fart. All he did was allow these riffraff to cause trouble. How can such a person be qualified to participate in the 3 Dynasties Pill gathering with you? There were 3 young figures sitting in front of a few expensive tables and chairs. One of them was wearing a long green robe. There seemed to be a flame symbol between his eyebrows. A person with such an appearance would be the center of attention no matter where he went. In addition, there were people who had mentioned this person's identity earlier. It was none other than the famous Ancient One. He was also recognized as the #1 alchemist in the royal city. There was no doubt about the Ancient One's strength. Anyone who was able to sit and chat with the Ancient One must be an incredible figure. One of them was dressed in disguise, but there was a bronze bracelet on his wrist. The bracelet contained an extremely powerful yuan weapon called the transformation armor. With a thought, he could summon the transformation armor and attach it to his body. It was equivalent to an extremely strong defensive armor. This person was also extremely famous in the city. His nickname was War God Feng. His real name was Zhang Tianfeng. He could be said to be the chief disciple of the Imperial Martial Pavilion. It was more difficult for ordinary students to come into contact with Zhang Tianfeng than it was for them to meet the head of the Imperial Martial Pavilion. During Zhang Tianfeng's time in the Imperial Martial Pavilion, he had won every battle and had never tasted defeat. His journey was smooth sailing and he had never lost a battle. It was not because Zhang Tianfeng was lucky, but because Zhang Tianfeng's strength was too strong. In addition to his amazing talent, he also had the War God Fist technique of the Zhang family. Therefore, Zhang Tianfeng had not tasted defeat for many years. There was only one draw, and that was when he challenged the Academy Elder. Both parties were exhausted, but Zhang Tianfeng still held back. Therefore, it could be said that Zhang Tianfeng was still in a victorious position in that match. This time, Zhang Tianfeng was the one who stepped in. After all, with him here, it did not matter if anyone else came. He could easily control the entire situation. If it wasn't for Brother Sky Maple dismissing those messy people, then I reckon I would have to be busy for a period of time. The Ancient One said with a smile. In terms of fighting, the Ancient One's fighting skills were only average and not outstanding. However, he had his own means of survival. Moreover, the Ancient One was always protected by the shadow guards of his family. Such an important person was similar to the Ancient One's talent. They were all people who could easily change the fate of a clan. People who possessed such strength naturally needed to be protected. Brother Ancient One's alchemy skills and Brother Tianfeng's fist technique. With the combination of the two of you, no one in Holy Flame Royal City can shake you. The third person said. When the third person spoke, the other two people looked serious and did not show the slightest bit of frivolity. We've embarrassed ourselves in front of the third prince. The two people cupped their hands and said to the third person. It's the third prince. After drinking a few cups, a person behind the third prince came forward and whispered a few words in his ear. Immediately, a glint flashed across the third prince's eyes. I still have some matters to attend to in my residence. I'll take my leave. The third prince stood up and said. We'll see you out. Please. Zhang Tianfeng and the Ancient One also stood up to see him out. The third prince had casually asked two of the most powerful youths in Royal City to see him out. Naturally, he was very proud. The two of them sent the third prince to the door. The third prince turned around and said to them, you can stop here. There's no need to see me out anymore. As soon as the third prince finished speaking, he turned around and saw a figure approaching him. This figure came extremely quickly and unexpectedly. Even the guards of the third prince didn't have time to react. The third prince's chest was viciously kicked by someone. His whole body flew from the door to the wall of the inner hall. I'll see you out. Don't even think about leaving today. Chapter 870. The third prince was sent flying back by the kick. He crashed into the wall and immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. The third prince had never experienced anything like this before. He had been sent flying with a kick in his face. No one had ever experienced something like this before. Your Highness. When he saw the third prince being sent flying with a kick, Zhang Tianfeng's face turned ugly as if he had eaten shit. He quickly chased after the third prince. Almost everyone rushed to the third prince at the first moment to check if there were any problems with his body. The Ancient One immediately fed the third prince an elixir. He broke the third prince's inner armor with a kick. He's here to kill. When the Ancient One saw this, he looked out of the door with an extremely cold look in his eyes. Li Zongjiu and the rest rushed in. Tear this place down. Kun Erasure was naturally more than happy to tear down a house. He swept the Kun wing spear in his hand across the exquisite decorations, flattening them all. Kun Erasure did not hesitate to smash some of the items displayed on the display window. Qi Yanran looked at the smashed things around her. Even Qi Yanran was a little surprised because any one of these things was very valuable. Although they were not very useful, they were very valuable. However, Kun Erasure had destroyed all of them. Kun Erasure did not seem to realize that he had destroyed millions of purple yuan worth of items in his hands. You're courting death. Seeing that Lan Kun was actually unscrupulously cleaning up the miscellaneous items here, he couldn't help but exclaim. How could Zhang Tianfeng, the invincible god of war, tolerate this? Zhang Tianfeng's body flickered as he sent a palm strike towards Li Zongjiu. Immediately, an extremely terrifying aura began to gather in the palm. The Zhang clan's god of war fist. Zhang Tianfeng's palm strike changed at will. When the palm strike landed, it carried a terrifying wave of energy. Even Kun Erasure, Qi Yanran, and the others felt extremely pressured. But Li Zongjiu did not dodge or evade. He directly welcomed Zhang Tianfeng's palm with a punch. This was an extremely plain straight punch. However, it was precisely the power of such a fist that exploded in an instant, colliding with his opponent's palm. Zhang Tianfeng had originally wanted to cripple Li Zongjiu with a single palm. But when he met Li Zongjiu's fist, he was shocked. His expression immediately changed. He wanted to pull his hand back, but it was already impossible for him to do so. Bang! Zhang Tianfeng's entire body was blasted away. When he fell to the ground, his wrist finally couldn't take it anymore. With a loud crack, his wrist was directly fractured by Li Zongjiu's attack. He was known as the war god Maple of the Holy Flame Royal City. But now, his hand was broken by Li Zongjiu as soon as he met him. Who would dare to believe such a thing? Shadow Guard. The Ancient One hurriedly summoned his Shadow Guard when he saw how ferocious this person was and how he had injured two people without a word. If something were to happen, it would be hard to say what would happen. For safety's sake, the Ancient One hurriedly summoned his Shadow Guard. Even if the Ancient One did not summon him, the Shadow Guard could no longer hide. This person had consecutively defeated two heavyweights. Furthermore, this person had come with such ferocity that the Ancient One had to be next. It was obvious that this person was targeting the Ancient One and the others. Immediately, an illusory figure floated in the air. The space in front of Li Zongjiu seemed to undulate. Then, a figure seemed to pass through the space and charged directly at Li Zongjiu. The figure that suddenly appeared stabbed at Li Zongjiu with his sword. This sudden sneak attack was enough to be considered a top-notch sword move. Be careful. Qi Yanran was the first to react. She was worried that Li Zongjiu would be injured and attacked by the other party. She leaped up and stabbed with her sword as well. However, this person's speed was clearly faster than Qi Yanran's. Li Zongjiu naturally saw this attack. If it had been an ordinary person, he would have been pierced through by the other party's sword. Faced with the Shadow Guard's sword that had suddenly pierced through space, Li Zongjiu merely stretched out his hand and easily used two fingers to clamp down on the other party's sword. These two fingers easily trapped the sword. The Shadow Guard's figure was still hovering in the air. He wanted to pull his sword out, but he realized that Li Zongjiu's fingers were like a pair of iron pliers. They clamped the sword so tightly that it could not move at all. Is that all you've got? Li Zongjiu's indifferent gaze made the Shadow Guard feel very uneasy. He had been a Shadow Guard for so many years and had seen many fierce people, as well as many high and mighty people in power. However, this was the first time he saw Li Zongjiu's gaze. It was clearly a gaze that could dictate life and death. Under this gaze, there was even an incomparable sense of fear in his heart. Clang! Li Zongjiu gently exerted force with 2 fingers and immediately broke the sword in the shadow guard's hand. Because of this, the shadow guard immediately realized that things were not good. He immediately abandoned the weapon and retreated into the space behind him. Whoosh! Just as the shadow guard's figure returned to the space fluctuation, Li Zongjiu threw the broken part of the sword in his hand into the space. A muffled sound came from the space. The sword had clearly been shot by Li Zongjiu. The shadow guard covered his wound and appeared beside the Ancient One. He immediately grabbed the fuming Ancient One. "Let's go," the shadow guard said in a low voice. However, the Ancient One was not prepared. Could it be that this person was really so fierce? However, it was too late for the 2 of them to escape. "I've said it before. No one can escape today," Li Zongjiu said coldly. In the next moment, a blood dragon's soul rushed to the top of their heads. The Ancient One growled when he saw this. A lotus flame bloomed from between his eyebrows. Although the Ancient One was not a cultivator who specialized in the cultivation of elemental energy, he still had the ability to protect himself. As the Ancient One raised his hand, a beam of fiery light shot out towards the blood dragon's soul. The Ancient One and the others were shocked by the terrifying blood dragon's soul that Li Zongjiu had released. The flame rushed towards the blood dragon's soul. As the blood dragon's soul swayed, it easily avoided the flames. Its murderous aura was enough to suppress the flame in front of it. The Ancient One's flame was a joke in front of the blood dragon's soul, which had already awakened its powers. The Ancient One's flame was only at the level of a Yuan King. As for War God Feng, he was merely a grade 7 Yuan King. His strength was at most similar to that of Gong Changhe, the young sect master of the mystic Yuan sect, who had been killed by Li Zongjiu. With such strength, how dare he call himself War God Feng? Dog shit Feng was not even worthy. Brat, how dare you offend me, War God Feng? Zhang Tianfeng's arm had been broken by Li Zongjiu's punch. Now, he had used his Yuan force to forcibly heal his injury and swallowed an elixir pill. Seeing Li Zongjiu's arrogance, Zhang Tianfeng activated his transformation armor and put it on. Zhang Tianfeng's lips curled into a disdainful smile as he stared at Li Zongjiu. "I'm going to bury you here today." War God Fist Technique. Destroy the heavens and earth. Zhang Tianfeng let out a loud cry. At this moment, the power in his body began to crazily condense. It was as if the surrounding energy was rapidly gathering together with Zhang Tianfeng's call. This punch of Zhang Tianfeng's was also practically his peak state. Li Zongjiu's figure flashed. He actually ignored the surrounding pressure and directly rushed in front of Zhang Tianfeng, giving Zhang Tianfeng no time to release the move that he had already prepared. His fist had already landed on Zhang Tianfeng's head. Boom! Zhang Tianfeng's entire person was sent flying. Pfft! Spitting out a mouthful of blood, his body also smashed down beside the 3rd prince. Who are you? Half of Zhang Tianfeng's face was swollen. Zhang Tianfeng was unable to withstand the power of this punch. Who am I? I'm Li Zongjiu. Chapter 871. I'm Li Zongjiu. As soon as he finished speaking, the blood dragon's soul crushed the Ancient One and the shadow guard under its claws. The Ancient One's body was already covered in wounds. Even in his current state, the Ancient One's eyes widened when he heard Li Zongjiu's name. Li Zongjiu. This arrogant, murderous man was Li Zongjiu. This coward was Li Zongjiu from the Li family. He was just as rumored. Unreasonable, unscrupulous, and fearless. He even dared to beat up the 3rd prince. How dare you, Li Zongjiu? How dare you offend the 3rd prince? Men, take him down. The guard beside the 3rd prince also shouted when he saw the situation. However, no one appeared. These people had already been taken down by Li Zongjiu and the rest. How dare you touch the Li family? Which one of you is the Ancient One? Li Zongjiu roared. At this moment, Lan Kuan had already torn down more than half of the Lingbo palace. Beside him, Shui Yu also helped to smash a few bottles. Qi Yanran had thought that there would be a fierce battle. She did not expect Li Zongjiu to take down all of them single-handedly. These experts from Lingbo Palace, who boasted that they were the best in Monarch City, had all been taken down by Li Zongjiu. This was the first time the Ancient One had seen such a ferocious person. No one had dared to disrespect him in the past. Therefore, the Ancient One was very nervous. This was the first time he had been treated so viciously. Moreover, it seemed that no one here could stop Li Zongjiu. Normally, everyone would gather together to show off. After all, they did have some strength. However, these people had never been taken advantage of. Since they had never been taken advantage of, they naturally had not encountered such a situation. When they encountered such a situation, they knew fear. Li Zongjiu was their nightmare. When they saw Li Zongjiu walking towards them, they could clearly feel a strong sense of oppression. The Ancient One didn't even dare to say a word. Shui Yu pointed at him. He is the Ancient One. Shui Yu naturally knew who the Ancient One was. A long time ago, the Emperor Father had the intention of marrying Shui Yu to the Ancient One. However, Shui Yu's mother vehemently objected to it, so the matter was temporarily shelved. However, it was unlikely that it would go anywhere. Fortunately, the young sect master of the Mystic Yuan sect appeared and Li Zongjiu brought Lan Kuan to the Mirror Moon Villa. This made the Sacred Flame Emperor realize that his daughter was in high demand, so he wasn't in a hurry. After all, Emperor Xingyan had never thought of marrying off a princess in exchange for success and peace. However, Shui Yu remembered the Ancient One's face. This guy had always been in and out of the palace. Shui Yu was very unhappy to see him. I am the eldest son of the Gu family. How dare you touch me? When the Ancient One saw Li Zongjiu looking at him, he cursed Shui Yu in his heart. What a meddlesome bitch. When Li Zongjiu looked at the Ancient One, the smile on his face was extremely bright. The more he saw Li Zongjiu's smile, the more the Ancient One felt guilty. If you dare touch him, the Gu family will not let you off. The Shadow Guard said in a low voice. The Blood Dragon's soul seemed to be extremely impatient. With a swipe of its claw, it sent the Shadow Guard's head flying. The Shadow Guard was killed just like that. The Ancient One panicked when he saw that his Shadow Guards had been killed. Go and find the members of the Li family. Although Li Zongjiu was tormenting the people in front of him, he did not forget the purpose of this trip. Qi Yanran immediately summoned the Longevity Tree Original Spirit. The Longevity Tree penetrated the ground and searched every corner within 100 meters. There was no other way to search faster than the roots of the Longevity Tree. Soon, they found the members of the Li family. They were locked up in the dungeon. Found them. Qi Yanran immediately moved. She would go down to the dungeon and bring them out first. Li Zongjiu walked up to the Ancient One. Seeing Li Zongjiu so close to him, the Ancient One could not help but feel afraid. At that moment, there was a commotion on the roof of Lingbo Palace. Then, a few figures descended from the sky. A few people had climbed in through the windows. Top secret guards. We're late to help. A total of 7 figures rushed in. 3 of them surrounded Kun Erisher and Shui Yu. Of the remaining 4, 2 of them stood in front of the third prince to protect him. One of them stood beside Li Zongjiu, while the others stood in front of him. They were able to protect him from the front and back. Clearly, this person was the commander of this operation and the leader of the top secret guards. When the Ancient One saw the arrival of the top secret guards, he was overjoyed. You guys, take him down. He attacked the third prince and killed my guards. Execute him on the spot. Screw you. Li Zongjio aimed a kick at the Ancient One's mouth. The Ancient One flew back 20 to 30 meters, and several of his teeth were knocked out. His mouth was filled with blood, and he looked extremely miserable. This was even more painful than killing the Ancient One with a single blow. This was because Li Zongjio had thoroughly humiliated him. Stop! The top secret guard, who was closest to Li Zongjio, saw that Li Zongjio had dared to hit someone in front of him. It was obvious that Li Zongjio did not respect him at all. Therefore, the top secret guard immediately drew the saber at his waist and swung it at Li Zongjio's thigh. Li Zongjio lifted his leg and kicked the top secret guard's saber. These top secret guards were only Yuan kings. Even though the weapons in their hands were extremely powerful, it was almost impossible for them to inflict any damage on Li Zongjio. The saber in the top secret guard's hand was broken by Li Zongjio's kick. At the same time, he kicked the top secret guard in the chest and sent him flying. Among these people, there was not a single one who could fight. When they saw that Li Zongjio had actually dared to attack the top secret guard, the rest of the top secret guards also took action. If a person without any status dared to attack a top secret guard in this manner, it would be tantamount to walking right into a trap and committing suicide. To Li Zongjio, the top secret guards in front of him were already his enemies since they had already blocked his path. There was no need to be polite at all. The three top secret guards below were also being held back by Kun Erasure. Kun Erasure and Shueiyue teamed up and fought 2 against 3. Given Kun Arashi's current skills and his mind power, it was not a problem for him to challenge 3 top secret guards. The 5 of them were fighting in a mess. However, the other 3 top secret guards could be said to be retreating in defeat in front of Li Zongjio. 1 punch, 1 top secret guard. Li Zongjio sent these top secret guards flying with just a few punches and kicks. However, at least they were still breathing. After all, these top secret guards were doing their job. Today, I'm only targeting this kid. If you come again, don't even think about leaving. Li Zongjio severely injured the 4 top secret guards. Then, he looked at the Ancient One, who was trying to get up and escape. He kicked a stone stool at the Ancient One's back. Swoosh! The stone block was like a cannonball that shot towards the Ancient One's back in an instant. In an instant, the Ancient One was sent flying and landed in the garden outside. After falling to the ground, he spat out a mouthful of blood. As for the Ancient One's inner armor, it had already been destroyed by Li Zongjio. If these top secret guards' armor had been able to withstand the Yuan energy of an primitive emperor, it would not have been a problem. However, they had encountered the power of Li Zongjio's primitive emperor fist. The power of this fist alone was enough to shatter their bones. It was all thanks to the armor that the Ancient One was able to keep his body intact. Don't chase after them. Let them handle this matter themselves. Hurry up and get me out of here. Otherwise, the people from the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion will be here soon. The third prince said hurriedly as he came to his senses. The top secret guards did not understand. Shouldn't they skin the kid alive and pull out his tendons? Why did they want to leave immediately? However, if they were to go against Li Zongjio, they did not have much of a chance of winning. It would be best if they could escape. Retreat! The leader of the top secret guards gestured. The 3 top secret guards who were fighting with Kun Erasure quickly retreated. To be able to defeat the top secret guards in the Sacred Flame Royal City, this time, Lan Kun would have a great boast to brag about. Chapter 872. Qi Yanran had rescued Li Baichao and the other 2 disciples of the Li family, Li Qin and Li Yu. When the 3 of them saw Qi Yanran, they could not believe their eyes. In the underground structure of the Lingbo Palace, there was a dungeon. Although Li Baichao and the others did not suffer any torture in this dungeon, it was still quite scary to be locked up in such a dark basement for the first time. Therefore, when Qi Yanran rescued the 3 of them, it was as if they had seen a fairy. Quick, they have been here for a while. Su Sha said anxiously. When they were still on the way, Su Sha ran to the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion to ask for help. It was useless to just find Su Hong. They had to find the experts in the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion to stop Li Zongjiu. Otherwise, with Li Zongjiu's bad temper, who knew what he would do and what would happen? Of course, Su Hong also came along. Coincidentally, the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion had also invited a few experts from the royal city to discuss the matters of the journey to the Haiku dynasty. The main venue of the competition had been changed to the territory of the Haiku dynasty. Therefore, they had to prepare enough experts for the journey. If any problems occurred on the journey, the Shengyan dynasty would be the one to lose face. Therefore, they would never let such a thing happen. There was a martial arts hall in the Sacred Flame Royal City. The hall master of the martial arts hall was an primitive emperor expert. He had a clean background and a good relationship with the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. When the hall master arrived, he could clearly feel that this place was not ordinary. Hall master Zhou, quick! Zhou Zheng's figure flashed and came to the Lingbo Palace. He saw Kun Erisher and Shueyue, as well as the disciples of the Li family who had just been rescued by Qi Yanran, and the surrounding ruins. War God Feng and Zhang Tianfeng of the Sacred Flame Royal City were also unconscious on the ground. Other than them, there was no one else. Zhou Zhen glanced at the wall on his left and saw that there seemed to be a broken hole. He took the lead and rushed out. Su Hong and Su Sha hurriedly walked in. Oh my God, how did this happen? Let's save them first. When Su Hong saw that the Lingbo Palace had been torn apart, he didn't feel anything. However, when he saw the blood on the ground and Zhang Tianfeng lying on the ground, he suddenly felt his head swelling rapidly. Why did such a thing happen? Where's Li Zongjiu? Su Hong asked anxiously. On the way here, Su Hong knew why Li Zongjiu had come. He also knew that Li Zongjiu was looking for the Ancient One. The Ancient One was the treasure of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. If he was killed by Li Zongjiu, it would be an extremely painful loss. I think he went after him. Kun Erisher was also sitting on the ground to rest. He pointed in the direction of the broken hole. After the previous battle, Kun Erisher could be said to have used up all his energy. Hence, he sat on the ground, paralyzed. Just as he pointed in the direction of the hole, he suddenly heard an extremely painful scream. This was a cry that seemed to have exhausted all the strength in his life. It was full of pain. Even a normal person would feel their scalp go numb when they heard it. Oh no! When Su Hong heard this voice, his face turned ashen. Although it was a cry of agony, Su Hong could tell that it was the Ancient One's voice. Clearly, the Ancient One had been crippled. Stop! Li Zongjiu, listen to me. You can't kill him. Zhou Zheng saw that Li Zongjiu had already torn off one of the Ancient One's arms. The bloody scene shocked Zhou Zheng greatly. This arm belonged to the alchemy genius of the Holy Flame Royal City, the Ancient One. Zhou Zheng had been in the city for almost 40 years. He had heard everything that had happened in the city and knew everything in detail. The Ancient One was indeed a rare talent. He was an extremely arrogant talent. But now, the Ancient One was like a dying wild dog. His eyes were filled with fear and terror. To be able to force a genius to such a state, this Li Zongjiu in front of him was truly ruthless. Zhou Zheng was a person who had experienced many life and death situations. When he was young, he had offended many people. But later on, these enemies were all dealt with by Zhou Zheng. To be able to be chosen by the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, and to be an important person, naturally, would not be simple. Oh! Li Zongjiu stepped on the Ancient One's face, still holding the arm he had just torn off. Is there anyone in this world that I, Li Zongjiu, can't kill? Li Zongjiu stared at Zhou Zheng. Even Zhou Zheng, who was in the primitive emperor realm, felt a chill in his heart. When it came to killing people, some people were too excited, so they let their emotions affect their decisions, causing things to spiral out of control and fall into a bottomless abyss. That was a sign of losing reason. However, looking at Li Zhongzhou's eyes, from the look in his eyes, Zhou Zheng could feel extreme confidence. In fact, this confidence had reached the level of a madman. He was fearless. He was truly fearless. It was as if nothing could stop him even if the sky fell down. He had such a terrifying aura. Zhou Zheng did not dare to act rashly. If he accidentally trespassed into the other party's territory, he might become a target to be killed. Save me, the Ancient One looked at Zhou Zheng and said in a trembling voice. This was the day that the Ancient One had underestimated the most. His hands were the hands of an alchemist. But Li Zhongzhou had broken one of his arms. But it was useless now. Before he broke the arm, Li Zhongzhou had already shattered the Ancient One's energy center with a kick. The Ancient One was still alive and breathing because Li Zhongzhou did not intend to let him die just like that. He is already crippled. There is no point in killing a cripple. Zhou Zheng glanced at the Ancient One's condition. There was no one else in the entire Sacred Flame Royal City who would dare to do this to the Ancient One. It was shocking. Zhou Zheng was right. The Ancient One was indeed a useless person now. Zhou Zheng could not help but intervene when he saw that Li Zhongzhou was about to tear off the Ancient One's other arm. Su Hong finally felt it. Stop it, Li Zhongzhou. You can't do this. You can't do this. Su Hong quickly tried to stop him. Crack. The crisp sound of bones breaking was so pleasant to the ears. However, when Su Sha saw this scene, she immediately covered her mouth to prevent herself from screaming out loud. I'm stopping. Li Zhongzhou grabbed both of the Ancient One's arms and raised them up, indicating that his hands were no longer in the Ancient One's body. He threw the two arms to the side. Li Zhongzhou wiped the blood off his body. This matter is not over yet. The Gu family will pay the price for this. Li Zhongzhou said calmly. There was a domineering aura in his eyes. It was as if nothing in the world could stop Li Zhongzhou. Since they dared to touch the Li family, they had to pay the price. Regardless of which family or sect they were from, Li Zhongzhou would have to settle the score with them. At the very least, he had to settle the score. You've gotten yourself into big trouble. Su Hong watched as Li Zhongzhou tore off both of the Ancient One's arms. He had completely turned the Ancient One into a cripple. He was no longer of any use to him. The Ancient One fainted from the pain. When Zhou Zheng saw that Li Zhongzhou had deliberately stepped aside, he quickly went forward and transferred some energy into the Ancient One's body to ensure that he would not die. But when Zhou Zheng saw the mark on the Ancient One's forehead, he gasped. Then, he sucked in a breath of cold air. There used to be a flame mark on the Ancient One's forehead. This was the primordial fire that the Ancient One cultivated. It was said that this primordial fire was of a very high level. But now, the mark on the Ancient One's forehead was gone. In its place was a bloody hole. It was forcefully dug out. Li Zhongzhou's move was really ruthless. But Zhou Zheng was glad that the Ancient One was still breathing. As long as he was not dead, there was still room for negotiation. Elder Su, it's not that I don't want to give you face, but I've always been a reasonable person. I'll let you take him away today. Also, help me pass a message. Tell the Gu family to send someone to White Deer Manor to apologize within 3 days. Otherwise, I'll wipe out the Gu family. Chapter 873. Su Hong knew the weight of Li Zhongzhou's words. Since Li Zhongzhou had spoken, he would not let them off so easily. If the Gu family did not comply when the time was up, Li Zhongzhou would have enough reason to go on a killing spree. Su Hong was extremely solemn. One could imagine the melancholy in his heart. On one side was the powerful Gu family. On the other side was an extremely talented alchemist. Even the elixir gathering of the 3 dynasties was counting on Li Zhongzhou to suppress the other heroes on the battlefield and bring some fame to the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. At the very least, This was a way for the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion to demonstrate the strength of the nation. Hence, this was an extremely rare opportunity. Even the Ancient One. In fact, the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion had carefully selected him. They had also paid a hefty price to convince the Ancient One to come along. It could be said that they had put in a lot of effort. However, in the blink of an eye, Li Zongjiu had turned the Ancient One into a cripple. His temper was quite irritable. The Heavenly Elixir Pavilion had suffered a great loss because of this. This was also the source of Su Hong's headache. Now that Li Zongjiu had caused such a disaster, he had to at least protect Li Zongjiu's life in front of the Gu family. He could only continue to ask for help. This kind of matter was not something a mere principal elder like him could interfere in. Hence, Su Hong could not help but feel a trace of sadness in his heart. Before meeting Li Zongjiu, at least, Su Hong felt that he had some status with his position here. However, after meeting Li Zongjiu, even his rank was not enough. Even with his current position, he was powerless to manage some things even if he wanted to. He had to ask for help from someone more powerful. Su Sha did not expect this. She had originally thought that Li Zongjiu would be at a disadvantage. However, she realized that she had underestimated Li Zongjiu. The person lying in the room just now was Zhang Tianfeng, whom she had always admired. She also knew that Zhang Tianfeng was very powerful. In fact, he had never been defeated in any of the many challenges he had faced. This was his unyielding strength that allowed him to win all the way. However, after meeting Li Zongjiu, he simply lay on the ground, motionless. How much time had it been? Could it be that these people did not even have the strength to stop Li Zongjiu? It would be good if they could hold on for a little while. If Su Sha were to find out that the third prince had also been here and had also been beaten up, who knew what kind of expression she would have? Furthermore, Su Sha had never expected Li Zongjiu and the others to tear down Lingbo Hall to such a state. Young master! Young master! Li Zongjiu walked in front of Li Baichao and the others. Li Baichao and the others immediately lowered their heads in shame. This matter was also caused by them. Hence, the current situation must be very serious. Li Baichao and the others were ashamed because they had caused trouble for Li Zongjiu. Become stronger earlier. Then, no one will dare to bully us. Li Zongjiu only gave this faint advice. Li Zongjiu didn't care about the cause of the matter at all. He only cared about whether his family had suffered the slightest grievance. This was just the beginning. The reason why he kept that guy alive was to let him have a taste of what it felt like to fall from the peak of life to the bottom of the valley. Li Baichao and the others also nodded fiercely. Speaking of this matter, it was really because someone had set a trap. The other party wanted to provoke Li Zongjiu, but they didn't expect Li Zongjiu to be so terrifying. He directly brought people to kill in the Lingbo Palace. Even the third prince was beaten up. This was probably something that the third prince himself didn't expect. There was actually someone who dared to beat him up in the Holy Flame Imperial City. Moreover, he had to leave even after being beaten up. Otherwise, if he was seen by the people of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, it would mean that he was seen by outsiders. Then, he, the third prince, would not have any face to see others. Li Zongjiu and the others also swaggered away. Moreover, he was able to bring Li Baichao and the others out safely. Before leaving, Li Zongjiu also set a fire here. It was estimated that in a few minutes, the Shengyan dynasty would not be able to see this Lingbo palace. It would directly turn into a pile of ashes. Su Hong could not do anything about Li Zongjiu's rage. He could not beat him, and his alchemy skills were far from Li Zongjiu's. Li Zongjiu only looked a little younger. If his age was enough, he would be a formidable person. Looking at the few figures leaving, Zhou Zheng felt relieved. Zhou Zheng heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Even Zhou Zheng himself did not have much of a chance of winning against the terrifying Li Zongjiu. At least, it was impossible to take advantage of him. With Zhou Zheng's realm, it was already very good that he could sense this. Only a fool would think that Li Zongjiu was easy to bully because of his young age. However, things were not like that. Zhou Zheng could very clearly feel that Li Zongjiu's hands were stained with several lives. These lives referred to the lives of primitive emperors. Ordinary people might not have such ability. It was also because Li Zongjiu's body was stained with the blood of primitive emperors that Zhou Zheng felt a sense of fear when he saw Li Zongjiu. That kid is too scary. Where did you guys get him? Li Zongjiu had only been popular in the Sacred Flame Royal City for half a year. Who knew that it would turn out like this? It was no wonder that Zhou Zheng was so surprised to have caused such a huge commotion. Only people who had maintained a reputation in the city for a long time would be known by Zhou Zheng. Li Zongjiu was indeed very popular in the past, but it was at most a small scale. After a period of time, Li Zongjiu had quieted down. No one paid attention to Li Zongjiu, because there were more important people or things happening. They had to keep up with the trend. Sigh, I want to know too. Su Hong also had a bitter smile on his face. Li Zongjiu's attack was simply too accurate. The Ancient One would not die so easily in his current state. However, it would not be so easy for him to survive. It would probably take a lot of effort to save the Ancient One. Who knows, he might even become a cripple after he was saved. At the same time, he also carried Zhang Tianfeng away. Zhang Tianfeng had also been kicked a few times by Li Zongjiu and was probably badly injured. They returned to Bailu Manor. Xiao Zhao and Taifai had regained consciousness and a few maids were taking care of them. Li Zongjiu went to visit Xiao Zhao and told Xiao Zhao that the matter was more or less settled. He had also brought the two people back, so there was no need to worry. Hearing this, Xiao Zhao could finally put down the burden in his heart. It's good that you're back. It's all my fault for being useless, Xiao Zhao said. It's my fault for not making the proper arrangements. Li Zongjiu said in a low voice. In the end, it was because the people in the manor were not strong enough that they could take advantage of the loopholes. There were not many experts in the manor to begin with. Nangong Wuji, Heng Shisan, and Tian Fei. Although Tian Fei was not strong enough, he was still somewhat capable in front of these people. He could more or less withstand a few blows. However, Nangong Wuji must have brought the two of them out to do something. As a result, when the manor was in trouble, there was not a single person who could help. Get Lu Yong here. Li Zongjiu said to Yinghu. Soon, Lu Yong heard Li Zongjiu's order and rushed over. Look around and see if there are any rank 6 origin beasts in the vicinity. Li Zongjiu said. Lu Yong was stunned when he heard Li Zongjiu's words. However, he could guess what Li Zongjiu wanted to do. This kind of thing could not be rushed. Young master, it's extremely dangerous to tame a level 6 meta beast. At least 3 meta emperors would be needed for it to be possible. Lu Yong took a deep breath and said in a low voice. Not only was it difficult to tame, but it was also a rank 6 meta beast. It was impossible for it to wander around like some pure wild beasts. Basically, it had its own territory. If it was more powerful, it could establish its own force. Therefore, it was not easy to tame a rank 6 meta beast. Find at least 3 of them. Chapter 874. 3 level 6 origin beasts. That was 3 primitive emperor level powerhouses. Although Lu Yong kept repeating in his heart that this was a suicidal act, he still agreed and did as he was told. After all, Li Zongjiu was so powerful. Lu Yong had heard about what had happened today from Su Baichuan. Li Zongjiu had single-handedly demolished Lingbo Hall. It was said that he had also torn the young man called the Ancient One into many pieces. It was hard to imagine, but it also let people know that Li Zongjiu was really ruthless. He didn't care about people's feelings and didn't give them any face. He didn't have any way out. He meant what he said. Since they were looking for traces of the level 6 origin beasts, they might as well go and find them. After all, if they could not handle them, they would naturally take the initiative to retreat. The Gu family. When the people from the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion carried the Ancient One to the Gu family, the entire Gu family was in an uproar. The Gu family did not originate from the Sacred Flame Royal City. Instead, it originated from the Jin region. It was said that the Gu family was one of the most powerful families in the Jin region. They had even obstructed the unification of the Shengyan dynasty. However, in the end, they had chosen to submit. To show their sincerity, they had established their own family land in the Sacred Flame Royal City. A portion of their bloodline had also come here to develop. This was to dispel the suspicions of the Shengyan dynasty's royal family. In fact, this was also a coordinated effort. As for how to make use of this advantage, it depended on the intentions of these people. The Gu family of the Shengyan dynasty was now considered a branch of the Shengyan dynasty. When the Ancient One was brought in, the entire Gu family was shocked beyond words. Someone had actually injured the Ancient One to such an extent. This was clearly a form of revenge. Anyone who saw the state the Ancient One was in would understand what it meant to be cruel and merciless. It was too horrible to look at. Who did this? The man who spoke was authoritative. He sat on a high seat and looked down at the Ancient One, who was being carried in on a stretcher. His voice was filled with dignity and anger. At the same time, it was filled with boundless hatred. The head of the Gu clan, Guyu. Guyu had been in the royal city for so many years and kept a low profile. At the same time, he had instructed his disciples to restrain themselves. After all, this was not the era of the Gu family. To put it bluntly, they had to behave themselves with their tails between their legs. After all, they were at the foot of the imperial city. If the Shengyan dynasty's imperial family casually caught hold of any evidence, they could directly take the lives of the entire Gu family. However, he did not expect that no matter how low-key and humble he was, he would be trampled on by others. This matter would not be resolved so easily. Su Hong came with the Vice Pavilion Master. Guyu had a bad premonition in his heart when he saw the two of them. Could it be that the Heavenly Pill Pavilion was also involved in this matter? If the Heavenly Pill Pavilion was also directly involved, then this matter would become difficult to handle. Behind the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion was the Holy Flame Royal family. For the sake of the Imperial family, even if it was his most beloved child, the child he was most proud of, he had to endure this humiliation. This is a long story. The Vice Pavilion Master glanced at Su Hong. Su Hong's eyes could only look at the floor and then at the ceiling. In fact, this matter is also the fault of the Ancient One, the Vice Pavilion Master said. When Guyu heard this, he understood what this meant. Even if the Gu clan was keeping a low profile and was behaving themselves with their tails between their legs, it did not mean that the Heavenly Pill Pavilion Master could bully the Gu clan as they pleased. However, Li Zongjiu is also at fault. Since this matter has already happened, let's see how we can resolve this matter first. The Vice Pavilion Master said. In comparison, the Vice Pavilion Master had a clearer view of the situation. The Heavenly Pill Pavilion and the Gu clan did not have much interaction. Since the Ancient One had already been crippled, there was no need to care about anything else. Only those who were alive had value. Since the Ancient One was already crippled, to the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, he was directly a cripple. There was even less of a need to take care of him. Since everything was a matter, then it was up to the Gu clan to resolve it. When he heard the Vice Pavilion Master's words, Su Hong understood what the Vice Pavilion Master meant. If the Ancient One could still be saved, then the Heavenly Pill Pavilion was willing to mediate the situation and not let the relationship between the two parties become too tense. After all, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion had taken a liking to the Gu clan. It would not be good if both parties were unhappy. However, now that the Ancient One had already been crippled, there was no other way. For now, they could only rely on Li Zongjiu. Moreover, Li Zongjiu was the honorary elder of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Therefore, they might as well do Li Zongjiu a favor at little cost. This was human nature. As for the Gu clan's revenge, based on the Gu clan's strength, they were honestly not qualified to take revenge on the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. There was nothing to boast about. The Heavenly Pill Pavilion had no need to care about the Gu clan. When Guyu heard the words of the deputy pavilion leader, his face had already turned incomparably ashen. He had already been beaten to such a state, yet he was still able to say that this matter had already happened and that they should properly discuss how to resolve it. In this case, it meant that the deputy pavilion leader had already decided to side with Li Zongjiu. What? Apologize? My Gu clan's people were beaten to such a state by that brat, and you want the Gu clan to apologize? When Guyu heard Li Zongjiu's words from Su Hong, he was so angry that he jumped up from his seat. If Li Zongjiu was in front of him, he would have a real fight with Li Zongjiu. There was nothing to be afraid of. Since that was the case, the most that awaited him was death. There was nothing to be afraid of. If that brat wants to destroy the Gu clan, then the Gu clan will wait here. Guyu said coldly. As the head of the Gu clan, anyone who heard such words would probably explode on the spot. He was looking down on the Gu clan. Since that was the case, even if it meant sacrificing the lives and blood of the entire Gu clan, he would protect the Gu clan's reputation. Vice Pavilion Master, Elder, the Gu clan is already aware of this matter. We are very grateful for your help. As for what happens after this, the Gu clan will deal with it ourselves. Guyu said as he stood up. Then, he waved his sleeves and ordered the Gu clan's people to take the Gu clan's people away. It was not difficult to reattach the two broken arms. However, the origin pearl had been shattered by someone. Wanting to recover it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Most importantly, Li Zongjiu had taken something that he should not have. It was the Gu clan's inherited flame seed. It was the thing that grew between the Gu clan's eyebrows. Based on this point alone, it was necessary for Guyu to ask for help from the Gu clan. When the Vice Pavilion Master and Su Hong heard this, they understood that Guyu was about to do something. However, as long as he did not go overboard. Naturally, they would not ask too many questions. Clan leader Gu, everything is negotiable. Please do not forget that Li Zongjiu is an honorary elder of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. After the Vice Pavilion Master said this, he left with Su Hong. Guyu smashed a square table beside him with his palm. His eyes were filled with a terrifying cold light. Send a message to the Gu clan. Guyu said in a low voice. The Gu clan's people quickly made preparations. Li Zongjiu had crippled the Gu clan. Therefore, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion's people were now ignoring the Gu clan. It could be said that the Gu clan did not care about the Gu clan's life or death. However, the inherited flame seed that had been stolen from the Gu clan was not something that Li Zongjiu should have taken. If there was anyone to blame, it was Li Zongjiu's own greed. Chu Taishan and Su Hong walked out of the Gu clan's main gate. That Guyu was obviously very angry, and actually didn't find anyone to send them off. It seems that the Gu clan's people are going to make a move. Su Hong sighed and said. The background of the Gu clan was indeed not simple. Otherwise, they would not have purposely forced the members of the Gu clan to come here and end up in such a state. If the Gu clan's main family really took action, the situation would indeed become a lot more serious. They better think about it. Otherwise, we will let the world know that the Heavenly Pill Pavilion is not only good at alchemy. Chapter 875. Most of the commoners did not know about the Ancient One's misfortune so quickly. However, this matter could not be kept under wraps for long. Some of the spies soon found out about it. After learning about the tragic fate of the Ancient One, some of them had a new understanding of Li Zongjiu's character. Especially after learning about the whole story, they finally knew that not only was Li Zongjiu not to be trifled with, but the rest of Li Zongjiu's clan members were also not to be trifled with. Otherwise, they would be making an enemy out of Li Zongjiu. What happened after that was much simpler. The Ancient One's name was quickly removed from the outstanding elixir list. The Ancient One was rather pitiful. He was an expert in alchemy, but he did not even have the chance to display his skills in alchemy in front of Li Zongjiu. If he had competed with Li Zongjiu in alchemy, he might have had a chance to show off his skills. However, he was immediately crippled. An alchemy genius of a generation was crippled just like that. It was simply unbelievable. Many people felt that it was a pity for the Ancient One. It was hard to imagine that such a thing would happen. However, the Gu family's matter would have to be carefully investigated. If the Gu family had swallowed their anger and humiliation, they would have been too tolerant. However, if they were to cause trouble for Li Zongjiu and wanted to deal with Li Zongjiu, the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion would not let the Gu family off. The Sacred Flame Imperial City would probably be in for another round of commotion. The next day, Nangong Wuji and the rest returned to White Deer Manor. However, they did not expect such a thing to happen in just a few days after they left. The strength of the Lingbo Palace was not to be underestimated. Without the support of the primitive emperors, White Deer Manor would not have been able to hold on. The main reason was that Li Zongjiu was not there. If he was, such a thing would not have happened. Fortunately, the matter had been resolved and the people in Whitestag Manor didn't suffer much damage. I didn't expect to be targeted by these people, Nangong Wuji said in a deep voice. He couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. If he was still in the White Deer Manor, this wouldn't have happened. Even Li Zongjiu wouldn't be so angry. This matter is already in the past. There's no need to mention it again. Don't leave for the next 2 days. I'm going out, Li Zongjiu said. Nangong Wuji nodded. This time, the three of them had gone out to obtain an extremely important material, which was also the most important thing that the formation of the mysterious gate needed. Who knew that the other party would take advantage of this loophole in such a short period of time? This made Nangong Wuji a little unhappy. If these people dared to act recklessly, Nangong Wuji would definitely not be polite. Nangong Wuji nodded when he heard that Li Zongjiu was going on a long journey. Don't worry. Li Zongjiu found the King of Fire. When the King of Fire heard that Li Zongjiu wanted her help, she agreed without any hesitation. If it wasn't something important, the King of Fire wouldn't leave her Ghost King Palace so easily. In the entire Holy Flame Royal City, only Li Zongjiu could invite the King of Fire. Li Zongjiu also brought along Li Yun. Lu Yong and Su Baichuan also went with them. Xiao Zhao was already able to handle the matters in the White Deer Manor. After all, with the help of Li Zongjiu's pills, even a dying person could be saved. Hello, Master. Li Yun greeted the King of Fire warmly when she saw him. The two of them got along quite well. On the other hand, Lu Yong and Su Baichuan couldn't help but feel puzzled when they saw the King of Fire. The King of Fire looked so young and shouldn't be that powerful. However, the King of Fire gave them the feeling that he was very powerful. Even Su Baichuan didn't know where the King of Fire came from. Since Li Yun was here, they directly drove the Qilin warship and soared into the sky. Boom! Outside the city, the Qilin warship soared into the sky and sped towards Tai Province with 5 people on board. Tai Province was definitely the birthplace of the meta beasts. The mountain ranges overlapped with each other. It was enough to see a chain of mountains that stretched endlessly. Within the Tai region, there were very few cities. This was because human cities were almost untenable here. It wouldn't take long for them to be destroyed by some abnormally ferocious meta beasts. This place could be considered the meta beasts' world. Tai Province, Manghuang Mountain. Some time ago, someone discovered traces of the Yama python. Among the grade 6 meta beasts, the llama python's entanglement is definitely one of the best. Although Li Zongjio had close to 3,000 years of cultivation experience in his previous life, he was completely inferior to the two people in front of him in terms of meta beasts research. After all, these two people were experts in the field of meta beasts research. The llama python. Li Yun, who was piloting the flying ship, couldn't help but tremble when she heard this. She had never imagined that Li Zongjio and the others would actually want to deal with the llama python. Mang Huang Mountain. This place could definitely be considered to be filled with immortal qi, with all sorts of ancient auras gushing out. Anyone who came to a place like this would definitely feel how insignificant they were. There was a vast mountain in front of them. Compared to it, the Qilin worship was like a small leaf. They traversed through the vast forest. Rumble. As the Qilin worship swayed, it immediately felt the terrifying aura coming from all directions. In the sky, groups of flying meta beasts were flying together. In such a place, it seemed to be an extremely comfortable, unbridled, and free-living space. It was as if they had arrived at the meta beast's heaven. Even some of the younger origin beasts would approach the Qilin battleship. They flew around the Qilin warship, as if they wanted to play with it. This made Li Yun nervous. She even felt that she was ready to attack at any time. However, after observing for a while, she realized that these meta beasts were just like children. They were just curious. It's the blue feather goose. This meta beast is gentle and usually won't take the initiative to attack. Lu Yong said. As the owner of the Yuan Beast Workshop, he naturally had to have the strength to convince the masses. Otherwise, how could he maintain the reputation of the Yuan Beast Workshop by merely killing a few people? Accompanied by a group of blue feather geese, the Qilin warship slowly came to the foot of the Mang Huang Mountain. The warship hovered. After all, there were ferocious meta beasts everywhere. If the Qilin battleship was slightly damaged, it would be very harmful to the Qilin battleship. This warship is not bad. The King of Fire said. Yes, it is not bad. Li Zongjio nodded. The King of Fire obviously wanted him to give the Qilin warship to him. However, Li Zongjio cleverly avoided it. They landed on the Mang Huang Mountain. The muddy ground under their feet was filled with an ancient and vast aura. In the Tai province, no human had ever set foot on this place. Now that they were here, they could feel the ancient aura around them. It even felt like the city was missing. The vitality around here is so strong. Li Yun exclaimed. It was also the first time that Li Yun came to such a place. She could truly feel the strong vitality and life that belonged to this primitive forest. I have a feeling that meta beasts will attack us. Li Yun said. Immediately after she said that, a group of meta beasts rushed out from the dense forest in front of them. They looked like a group of ferocious wolves, but their tails were as slender as a lizard. Lizard tail primordial wolf. Be careful, there are many of them. Su Baichuan said. Su Baichuan was still the one who had to scout the terrain and so on. The lizard tail primordial wolf was scared away by the meta beast that Lu Yong summoned. What Lu Yong summoned in his hand was also a rank 5 essence beast. Ice bear wolf. The body of a wolf, the claws of a bear. In addition to its majestic body, it was indeed very intimidating. Chapter 876. These people from the Yuan Beast Workshop were, in fact, one of Li Zongjio's hidden methods. Usually, these people would hide in the White Deer Manor. Recently, with the help of Du Lieni, they had slowly opened up some businesses related to Yuan beasts. For example, some Yuan beast shops would also sell Yuan beasts that were specially for viewing. Furthermore, these Yuan beasts did not possess much killing power. When these Yuan beasts were around, they would also attract a lot of attention. This would also alleviate the depressed mood of some young people who only knew how to train every day. Of course, this was just a small matter. Helping to incubate or feeding some high-level yuan beasts, in addition to the business of yuan beast eggs, was also a very important business. However, the people from the yuan beast workshop also had fighting strength. After all, raising these yuan beasts wasn't for nothing. The ice bear wolf walked in front. The group of lizard-tail primordial wolves wasn't a match for the ice bear wolf at all. With a light slap of its claws, the group of lizard-tail primordial wolves was scattered. Then, it led a group of people up the mountain. It wasn't an easy task to find these high-level meta beasts. These high-level meta beasts had their own living areas and they controlled the area. It was easy for them to find something out of the ordinary. Once they found something wrong, these high-level yuan beasts had their own way of dealing with it. If they saw that the other party was weak, they would immediately rush over and kill them. If that was the case, he would directly charge out and kill you. Moreover, he would sprinkle your blood all over his territory so that the surrounding meta beasts would know not to casually barge into his territory. Otherwise, this would be the outcome. However, if they found out that the other party was coming at them menacingly, they would pretend that they were out or hiding in their caves to sleep and pretend that they didn't know what was going on. Therefore, even these yuan beasts acted according to the person. Don't think that these yuan beasts were just a bunch of stupid beasts. According to the information, the sky hell python should be around here. Why can't I see any traces of it? Su Baichuan bound the information he collected these days into a book. Li Zhongjiu asked him to find 3 rank 6 yuan beasts, but he found 5 yuan beasts directly. He also found 2 more as backups. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to pinpoint the exact location of these meta beasts during this process. Or if the other party kept hiding and refused to appear, that would be the most troublesome time. Keep the map. This is already their territory. Now, it's not us looking for them, but them looking for us. Lu Yong glanced at Su Baichuan. The map even marked the location. Someone had seen the heavenly hell python at this location before, and based on their own experience, they had roughly defined the area. This way, it would be easier to search. Moreover, this kind of valuable information was often sold to some intelligence agencies for a high price. Therefore, many people chose to be in this line of work. Therefore, these pieces of information were obtained by people who risked their lives to obtain them. Su Baichuan also put away the map. Everyone looked at Lu Yong. Obviously, it was time for Lu Yong to perform. As the owner of the Elemental Beast Workshop, Lu Yong naturally had his own methods. He took out a stick of incense that was as thick as a thumb from his storage ring. He directly inserted the stick of incense into the ground and lit it up. As he gently rubbed it, the fragrance of the incense was slowly released and swept towards the distance. This is musk. All the meta beasts that smell this fragrance can't help but approach it. To them, this fragrance is no different from the smell of their mate in heat. Lu Yong said indifferently. Since this was the heavenly hell python's territory, only the heavenly hell python would dare to come here. Even if the other meta beasts wanted to come to this place, they would probably give up halfway. Appearing in the heavenly Yama python's territory basically meant that they would become enemies with the heavenly Yama python. Let's spread out. If we gather too much, the smell will be very obvious. Lu Yong said. Li Zhongjiu and the others scattered. Li Zhongjiu flew to the other side alone. The King of Fire and Li Yun also stayed together. After all, there were only 2 girls here. Lu Yong and Su Baichuan also stayed together. Although Su Baichuan didn't think highly of Lu Yong, after these days of contact, Lu Yong did indeed have the potential to do great things. At least in many aspects, Lu Yong's way of handling things was better than the previous owners. This also made Su Baichuan admire him more. At least he wasn't a pedantic person. The few of them waited on the treetop for a while. The surroundings were terrifyingly quiet. Li Yun placed her left hand in front of her right hand and tried her best to lean on the tree trunk. She was afraid that she would fall because this height was already more than 30 meters above the ground. If she accidentally fell from this height, Li Yun really didn't know what to do. Although it was said that flying in the airboat was higher, it was still inside the airboat. At least they had a place to rest. In addition, the surrounding environment was extremely terrifying. That heavenly hell python, don't tell me it's an extremely large python. Li Yun muttered softly. At this moment, Li Yun also felt a gust of cold wind above her head. Immediately, Li Yun raised her head and looked up. Instantly, Li Yun's body stiffened on the spot and she screamed in shock. That scream directly broke through the clouds. The King of Fire also raised his head and saw the figure that suddenly appeared. As expected of a king who specialized in sneak attacks, the heavenly hell python appeared above their heads. Furthermore, he had approached them without making a sound. Moreover, a series of disgusting scales could be seen on the heavenly hell python's body. It even made one's scalp tingle. In any case, when Li Yun saw this scene, she couldn't move at all. She just wanted to immediately jump down from this place. Chi! The heavenly hell python immediately rushed towards the two of them. It opened its bloody mouth, as if it was going to swallow the two of them into its stomach. The King of Fire slapped Li Yun with his palm and sent her flying. His other palm slapped towards the heavenly hell python's head. Boom! The terrifying power collided with the heavenly hell python, and a terrifying shockwave immediately erupted. The surrounding trees were instantly shaken and snapped. Hundreds of thousands of leaves were directly shaken and fell to the ground, filling the sky. Li Zongjiu's figure appeared above the heavenly hell python's head in a timely manner. As the desolate heaven essence in his hand spun, he ruthlessly smashed the heavenly hell python's head. Pang! The heavenly hell python's huge body crashed to the ground. Li Yun, who had just landed on the ground, saw the heavenly hell python land in front of her. She naturally ran in the opposite direction and screamed. The heavenly hell python, which had fallen to the ground, immediately turned its huge body and bit towards Li Yun. However, the heavenly hell python didn't succeed so easily. Li Zongjiu and the King of Fire both landed on the ground. With Li Zongjiu's current strength, the desolate heaven essence's power was almost unimaginable. Boom! The heavenly hell python's body was huge, and its scales were golden in color. Suddenly, the heavenly hell python spat out a golden light from its mouth, protecting itself within it. Not far away, Lu Yong and the others were shocked when they saw this scene. He forced the heavenly hell python to use its ultimate move so quickly. This move, Guardian Vajra, is enough to make the heavenly hell python invincible for a short period of time. It's trying to escape. Lu Yong immediately shouted when he saw the heavenly hell python's actions. Even without Lu Yong's words, anyone with a discerning eye could tell that it was trying to escape. Immediately, Li Zongjiu leaped and approached the heavenly hell python. Mountain overturning golden seal. Soaring flaming sea. The King of Fire stretched out his hand, and the terrifying flames descended, forming a sea of fire that trapped the heavenly hell python within. The mountain overturning golden seal smashed down with a boom, causing the earth to shake and the mountains to shake. Chapter 877. The protective golden light around the heavenly hell python's body shattered under Li Zongjiu's powerful attacks. After that, the Fire Wraith King's terrifying flame power made the heavenly Yama Emperor Python feel pain. Hiss! The heavenly hell python let out a low hiss. Li Zongjiu and the others didn't understand. They continued to use their own moves on the heavenly Yama python, causing it to suffer unspeakably. Wait a minute, it seems to be begging for mercy. Lu Yong immediately shouted when he heard the heavenly hell python's cries. It had only been 10 minutes since the start of the battle, and the heavenly hell python had been beaten up the whole time. How could the heavenly hell python not care about its reputation after being beaten up so badly? The combined combat power of the two of them was beyond Lu Yong's imagination. The strength of the heavenly hell python before him was roughly at the 4th grade primitive lord realm. He was beaten to the point of begging for mercy so easily. It could be seen how terrifying the fighting strength of these two people was when they teamed up. Lu Yong immediately felt his head buzzing because the scene in front of him was indeed too shocking. Su Baichuan secretly memorized the scene before him. It was really beyond his expectations to have such terrifying combat power. Su Baichuan only knew that Li Zongjiu was ruthless when it came to killing people. However, after seeing him in action this time, he also understood Li Zongjiu's fierce style. The King of Fire withdrew the flames that filled the sky. The heavenly hell python was already on the verge of death. Li Zongjiu landed in front of the heavenly hell python and looked at it indifferently. Li Zongjiu wasn't even at the height of the heavenly hell python's nose. However, the heavenly hell python still breathed out a few times. Clearly, it felt like a human life was in danger. Submit to me. Li Zongjiu stared at the heavenly hell python. Then, a tyrannical mind power spread out. This caused the heavenly hell python's body to tremble slightly. Li Zongjiu immediately felt the extremely strong pressure coming at him. At this moment, the heavenly hell python suddenly rose to its feet and charged at Li Zongjiu with a power that could destroy heaven and earth. If Li Zongjiu were to be suppressed by the python, then he would have no choice but to bow down to the python. However, the King of Fire threw a punch from the side. The tyrannical power blasted the heavenly hell python's body, causing it to lie on the ground obediently. Li Zongjiu's mind power also forcefully suppressed the heavenly hell python at the same time. The power poured into the heavenly hell python's body. It immediately forced the heavenly hell monarch python to stay where it was, unable to move. Hiss! The heavenly hell python's body curled up. Soon, a strange light flashed in its eyes, causing the heavenly hell python's gaze to become extremely sharp. However, it soon became gentle again. With Li Zongjiu's mind power, enslaving another primitive emperor-level meta beast was no longer a problem. Moreover, as Li Zongjiu released his mind power, he directly controlled the heavenly hell python and enslaved it. Almost instantly, the terrifying aura on the heavenly hell python's body gradually receded. The defense and alertness that belonged to the meta beast was completely gone at that moment. This caused Lu Yong to be extremely shocked. To think that such a situation could happen. In terms of the ability to tame meta beasts, Li Zongjiu's skill was domineering enough to tame such a meta beast. Everyone couldn't believe their eyes. Spiritual contract, this is a skill that has almost been lost. Lu Yong looked at Li Zongjiu's actions and suddenly thought of the legendary mind contract. This was an extremely ancient legend in the beast tamer industry. Nowadays, they all relied on this blood contract. Very few people could use their own mind power to directly sign a contract with a meta beast. This was already a very domineering method. Until now, there were very few people who could master the use of mind power at this level. Therefore, when he saw Li Zongjiu use this skill, he was very shocked and surprised. Li Yun hid in the distance and was completely unaware of what was happening at the scene. She only felt that Li Zongjiu and her master's cooperation was flawless. How many people would be able to withstand such powerful combat strength and destructive power? Just by thinking about it, one could imagine it. That fellow won't bite people randomly, right? Li Yun couldn't help but ask when she saw that everyone at the scene seemed to have relaxed. If there were any problems, she would have to run away quickly. She wouldn't want to play with these monsters in front of her anymore. They were simply stimulating her heartbeat. I've already tamed it. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Put it in the Qilin battleship. The Qilin battleship was loaded with a special storage device. Even a meta beast could be placed in it. There wouldn't be any problems for at least half a month. Huh? Li Yun couldn't help but open her mouth wide. Was she really going to put such a thing in her Qilin battleship? Since Li Zhongjiu had said so, Li Yun had no choice but to summon the Qilin battleship. Fortunately, the heavenly hell python's body could be shrunk to a certain extent. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to hide in the cabin. The heavenly hell python's body was about 80% the size of the Qilin battleship. The heavenly hell python was stuffed into the cabin. The heavenly hell python was extremely obedient because it was now completely under Li Zhongjiu's control. He could destroy the heavenly hell python with a single thought. Continue to find the next one, Li Zhongjiu said. The purpose of this trip was to capture 3 level 6 meta beasts. This was just the beginning. This sentence sounded really domineering to Lu Yong. It was as if he was treating the level 6 meta beast as a wild boar that he could capture whenever he wanted. Come on, this was a level 6 meta beast. How could he be so careless? However, when he thought about how he, a beast tamer, actually had the opportunity to come into contact with a level 6 meta beast. This was a real level 6 meta beast, not the kind that had a chance of breaking through. No one would dare to believe that it was a real king among meta beasts. However, he had done it and witnessed it with his own eyes. Su Baichuan took a deep breath. They naturally knew what this meant. Li Zhongjiu was even able to casually dominate a rank 6 yuan beast. Li Zhongjiu was much more terrifying than he had imagined. Chapter 878. They were still in Tai province, but they had already left the desolate mountain. Li Zhongjiu and the others did not stop at night. Instead, they came to a cold pond. This mountain range was called the Cold Pond Mountain. Li Zhongjiu and the King of Fire were lying in ambush outside the cold pond. Their target was not the creatures in the cold pond. Every night, at the edge of the cold pond, a 6th grade meta beast would descend to absorb the cold energy in the pond. Blackwind Blood Shadow Condor. 6th grade meta beast, the King of the Night. When it uses its ability, it can completely blend into the darkness. Even if you use your naked eyes, it will be hard to detect. Even if it is standing right in front of you, you will not be able to see it. Lu Yong explained to Li Yun. Li Yun finally understood and nodded. Do we have to deal with such a dangerous creature? Li Yun said in a low voice. However, when it came to dangerous creatures, Li Yun and the others did not need to deal with them. We can't deal with it. Lu Yong shook his head. Then, he pointed to the front. With the 2 of them, I think we can sweep the entire Tai province. What if there are 2 of them? Li Yun asked curiously. Lu Yong blinked his eyes. Based on what she said, such a situation should be relatively rare. However, when Lu Yong turned his head, he saw 2 majestic figures flying in the sky. These 2 figures appeared and disappeared from time to time. They flickered in and out of existence. Suddenly, these 2 figures appeared at the edge of the pond and plunged into the cold pond. Because Lu Yong and the others' cultivation was lower, they were further away. Even at such a distance, they could still feel the cold energy of the other party. It was a bone-piercing cold. 2. Li Zhongjiu and the King of Fire looked at each other. They did not expect their luck to be so good to encounter 2 of them. If these 2 joined forces, wouldn't their combat power be even stronger? When Lu Yong saw the 2 appear at the same time, he already knew that things were not good. They must be a male and a female. Under such circumstances, the power of a meta beast would be even more terrifying. Blackwind Blood Shadow Condors were extremely rare. Therefore, the situation of these 2 beasts being together was really very rare, so Lu Yong didn't think of this at all. At the same time, he couldn't help but admire Li Yan's mouth. Everything she said was very accurate, and there was never any mistake in her words. However, this was not a bad thing for Li Zhongjiu and the King of Fire. Originally, Lu Yong wanted to call Li Zhongjiu and the Fire Wraith King back. After all, there were other options. However, Li Zhongjiu and the Fire Wraith King rushed out. As their figures swayed, the two black-winged blood shadow condors that were bathing in the cold pond also sensed the arrival of the enemy. Waves of cold air were released from their bodies. Boom! The power of the Fire Wraith King's Sea of Flames spread all over the sky. When the Sea of Flames was released, it also formed a relatively sealed space. It was almost impossible to break out from here, unless one's power was above the Fire Wraith King's. Immediately, sparks flew in all directions, and terrifying fluctuations erupted from all directions. Li Zongjio, with the desolate heaven essence in his hand, was at a slight disadvantage at the beginning. Subsequently, he also beat up the black-winged blood shadow condors until they flew all over the sky. Many of their feathers were torn off. Li Yun and the other two were dumbfounded as they watched this scene from afar. Subsequently, Li Zongjio did the same thing. He directly subdued the two rank 6 meta beasts. The strength of the two black-winged blood shadow condors was around the level of a rank 3 meta emperor. With the strength of these two, it was very possible for them to kill a heavenly hell python. In a one-on-one fight, they would at least be in an undefeatable position. After all, they were flying meta beasts with wings. To be able to subdue such flying meta beasts was an extremely rare thing. Phew! These guys are really difficult to deal with. Li Zongjio could not help but wipe the sweat off his forehead. Li Zongjio had just been carried up and down by the two meta beasts, smashing and pecking at him. If not for Li Zongjio's strong physical strength, he would have been smashed into a pile of meat paste. Of course, the whole scene was because the King of Fire was watching from the side. Otherwise, the meta beasts would have disappeared with a slight flap of their wings. Therefore, the King of Fire was the most crucial part of this hunting operation. On the other hand, the King of Fire did not expend much strength. Just these two attacks were worth more than 1,000 upper-grade meta stones. On the other hand, the King of Fire looked at Li Zongjio in surprise. Your mind power is really abnormal. Ordinary people would reach their limit even if they contracted a Yuan King level Yuan beast. Li Zongjio had directly controlled 3 meta emperor level meta beasts just now. Moreover, it seemed like Li Zongjio was still in a state of ease. It was unknown how Li Zongjio had done it. Even Li Zongjio was curious. His mind power should not have reached such a level even with the support of the White Dragon origin spirit. Logically speaking, it should have reached its limit by now. Could it be? Li Zongjio's heart sank. When he sensed it, he suddenly realized that he had unknowingly opened up a spiritual hell all by himself. Li Zongjio was surprised that this was not something he had personally created, but something that had formed on its own. The Hell Prajna technique actually had such a miraculous effect. The spiritual hell that was opened up was equivalent to a huge space that could accommodate mind power. It was specially used for internal cultivation. Li Zongjio could mobilize the reserve power from the spiritual hell, but he could not directly bring people into the spiritual hell. It was this automatically opened hell that helped Li Zongjio accommodate the mind power of the meta emperor level meta beasts. Li Zongjio also discovered the Howling Moon Wolf King and the Golden Winged Blue-Tailed Eagle in this spiritual hell. However, these spiritual origins were not strong. They were only small balls of light. Only after breaking through to the meta emperor level could the true form of the mind power be revealed. Li Zongjio woke up from the shock in his body. Li Zongjio already knew how shocked the King of Fire was. However, this power was still not enough. It was fine to deal with ordinary experts, but any expert of the 5th or 6th level Origin Emperor would be able to defeat them easily. They still needed another layer of protection. Although experts of this level would not casually kill these meta beasts, if they saw these meta emperor level meta beasts appearing in the same place and seemed to be submitting to someone, they would not dare to act rashly. Perhaps there was a trace of an even stronger expert behind this. Li Yun and the rest looked at Li Zongjio and the King of Fire as if they were looking at immortals who had fallen from the sky. Such a scene was really too shocking. Li Zongjio's strength was simply terrifying. To be able to achieve this level, the two of them actually managed to subdue two flying meta beasts so easily. Furthermore, they were meta emperor level meta beasts. If these meta emperor level meta beasts were stronger, they might even be able to speak human language. Su Baichuan and Lu Yong naturally broke out in cold sweat. Of course, they knew how much strength was needed to achieve this level. With the strength of Li Zongjiu and Lu Yong, it was enough to establish a first-rate sect in the continent. Especially the strength of the King of Fire, it was simply unfathomable. Although the two of them were not in the same realm, they still had the eyesight. The one who did all the work was Li Zongjiu. Although the King of Fire was said to be assisting from the side, in fact, he still had a card up his sleeve. In order to prevent any accidents from happening, he would only really take action when there was no other choice. Thinking that they were actually following a master who was like a god. At this moment, the two of them completely dispelled the idea of establishing their own sect. If they dared to do so, the outcome would definitely be very tragic. Chapter 879. Let's rest for the night and find the last one tomorrow. Li Zongjiu said. Li Zongjiu knew that the Gu family would never apologize to Li Zongjiu. In the eyes of the Gu family, Li Zongjiu was a nouveau riche with no background. How could they apologize to Li Zongjiu? Li Zongjiu let the Ancient One go on purpose. As long as the Gu family did not apologize, Li Zongjiu would have a reason to exterminate the Gu family. This was Li Zongjiu's goal. Otherwise, the Ancient One would not have survived until now. Moreover, if the Ancient One wanted to deal with the Li family, it would not end so easily. What was the point of killing one or two small fry? If he wanted to kill, he would kill them all. However, he could not kill as he pleased like before. At the very least, he had to find a few excuses. After all, in this world, strength was everything. If his strength had not surpassed the Shengyan dynasty, or even reached a level where the Shengyan dynasty would feel threatened, he would still have to act according to the rules of the Shengyan dynasty. The few of them rested nearby. As for the two black-winged blood shadow condors, they continued to immerse themselves in the cold pool, absorbing the cold aura of the cold pool. After being subdued, the only change was that they had to listen to Li Zongjiu in the future. Li Zongjiu had no reason to disturb them during their daily cultivation. Moreover, Li Zongjiu's White Deer Manor had a large mountain range and open space. It was enough to build a living environment for these creatures. In the future, they would be raised on the mountain. It was better than keeping them in the courtyard and jumping out to scare people. It was difficult for outsiders to know what was happening in Tai Province. However, in Sacred Flame Royal City, a few important people had arrived. After the main branch of the Gu clan received news of the situation in the Sacred Flame Imperial City, they made a prompt decision and sent two elders over to take charge of this matter. This time around, they had to kill Li Zongjiu. This was because they had the backing of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. If they couldn't deal with this matter properly, then their Gu clan would completely lose its prestige in the future and become a power that could be bullied by anyone. This wasn't something that the Gu clan's ancestors wanted to see. They could subdue the Shengyan dynasty, but it was impossible for a wild guy who had jumped out of nowhere to ride over their heads. In addition, he also needed to snatch back the Gu clan's inheritance flame. This item was extremely important to the Gu family. If it fell into the hands of others, it would bring disaster to the family. A group of people dressed in black arrived at the Gu family's residence. There were no firecrackers to welcome them, but the head of the Gu family, Gu Yu, personally came to welcome them. There were a total of 7 people, but the strength of these 7 people was comparable to the 4 great families in the city. Gu Yu respectfully welcomes the elders of the Gu family. Gu Yu bowed and said. Furthermore, he knew that the main family had attached great importance to this matter. They had actually dispatched Gu Chuan and Gu Hai, the 2 great elders. Who knew how much blood had been spilled by Gu Chuan and Gu Hai's hands? The murderous aura on their bodies was enough to permeate the air. The Gu family was able to have such a high position in Jin province, and even the sects in the surrounding cities followed the Gu family's lead. These achievements were not obtained by praying to God or Buddha. They were obtained by killing with a blade, a spear, and one head after another. This was the only way to establish the Gu family's position. These two elders could be said to be the pioneers of the Gu family's operations. Wherever there was trouble, where there was dissatisfaction, or where there was a problem, these two elders would lead the team. The 5 people behind them were all experts in the Gu family's elite cloud guards, and each of them killed without batting an eyelid. Don't talk nonsense, take out all the information on Li Zongjiu. Gu Chuan raised his hand, indicating that Gu Yu did not want to waste any more time. Gu Yu also quickly took out the information he had prepared and handed it over to Gu Chuan. The group of people sat in the meeting hall. Originally, some of the elders could only stand at the side. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Even Gu Yu could only sit in the lower seats. The 2 elders sat in the 2 main seats. The entire conference hall was silent, and only the sound of the heavy and slow reading of the information could be heard. Heavenly Pill Pavilion, Honorary Elder. Grade 6 Alchemist. When Gu Chuan saw these few pieces of information, he frowned, because this matter seemed to have become complicated. However, after a moment of silence, this matter must be done quickly. Tomorrow, we will pay a visit, Gu Chuan said in a deep voice. The connections of a grade 6 alchemist were not simple. If Li Zongjiu was given enough time, he might be able to summon them and prepare enough strength to deal with the Gu family. The reason for this matter was no longer important. Since Li Zongjiu had gone too far, he did not think of a normal reconciliation, and the Gu family would definitely not ask for peace. The only solution was to fight. If they did not fight now, when would they fight? No matter what, we must take back the fire seed. The 1000 Machine Workshop had already received the news that the Gu family was coming. They reported it to Xiao Zhao. When Xiao Zhao heard the news, he quickly gathered Nangong Wuji and the others and explained the matter. Given the nature of the old men in the Gu family, they will definitely come tomorrow, Nangong Wuji said in a deep voice. Although he and Hong Shi-san were both primitive emperors, Nangong Wuji's cultivation had not recovered, and it would be difficult for him to deal with these people. It seems that I have to make a trip there. Now that Li Zongjiu had not returned, if they did not prepare enough strength, it would not be so simple when these people came. Although Nangong Wuji had already left the Wuji Palace, with his prestige in the past, it was not a problem for him to find a few people to drink tea and calm these people down. After all, this was the Sacred Flame Royal City, under the rule of the Emperor. How could these people dare to fight in this city? I will also go and inform Elder Su Hong of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. In addition, I have already sent out a signal for the young master to come back quickly after seeing it. In the face of such a threat, Xiao Zhao was surprisingly calm. In theory, such a serious matter should not be decided by Xiao Zhao. However, since Li Zongjiu had already handed over the White Deer Manor to Xiao Zhao, and the manor had suffered a great loss last time, the same thing could not happen again. Even if he had to sacrifice himself, he had to protect everyone in the White Deer Manor. Therefore, Xiao Zhao was now in a very good state. He used his brain to deal with these matters. He also used all the resources he had at his disposal. Even the city guard, Wang Ding, had been contacted by Xiao Zhao to increase the number of people in the vicinity. If anything were to happen, they would immediately take action. In front of the city guard, no matter how strong Yu Jianghu people were, you would not dare to act recklessly. After all, the city guard represented the Sacred Flame Royal City. Recently, the confrontation between Li Zongjiu and the Gu family had attracted a lot of attention. The Gu family had already made a move. 2 elders from the main family and 5 elite cloud guards had come. Anyone would be nervous because the 2 elders of the head family were both Yuan emperors. The Song family, which was behind the 7-star fire room, did not make much of a move. After all, Li Zongjiu was only on good terms with Song Jieyu and not the entire Song family. Therefore, Song Jieyu's power was still relatively weak when it came to these matters. After all, it would not be easy to settle such a serious situation. However, Song Jieyu was not idle either. She sent a Peak Yuan monarch expert she had recruited to White Deer Manor. She said that she was there to discuss some improvements to the Raging Dragon slaying technique. However, she was actually there to secretly help White Deer Manor. With regards to Song Jieyu's help, Xiao Xiao's heart was extremely touched. Xiao Xiao's greatest fear was that some sort of conflict would arise between Li Zongjiu and Song Jieyu. That would be a really difficult choice for Xiao Xiao. With Mr. Dong Sun's help, nothing will go wrong. Mr. Dong Sun, please stay in the corner of the north courtyard for a few days. The person who had come was called Mr. Dong Sun. He was not a local expert. Instead, he was an expert from a second-tier city. In the end, he was discovered by Song Jieyu, who then directly recruited him. Of course, he had also secretly helped Mr. Dong Sun solve a lot of problems. Chapter 880. After Mr. Dong Sun was settled, another person came to the White Deer Manor. When this person arrived, Nangong Wuji personally came to greet him. Brother Zhou Zheng, what brings you here? Nangong Wuji walked out to greet him. Zhou Zheng was dressed in a long, loose robe. He stood on the spot like a towering mountain that pierced through the clouds. His back was straight like a mountain. Nangong Wuji was surprised to see Zhou Zheng, but at the same time, he felt reassured. I was fortunate enough to meet alchemist Li Zongjiu a few days ago. This time, I'm here to ask for medicine. When Zhou Zheng saw Nangong Wuji walking out, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he greeted him with a warm smile. Nangong Wuji was not simple. He was an influential figure more than 10 years ago. Later, he was injured, so he went into seclusion. Now, it seemed that he had recovered from his injury, so he showed some signs of activity recently. Zhou Zheng and Nangong Wuji could be considered people of the same era. However, Zhou Zheng also heard about Nangong Wuji's various deeds in that era. At the same time, he also regarded Nangong Wuji as his goal. He was determined to surpass him. Please come in. Let me introduce you. This is the housekeeper of the White Deer Manor, Miss Xiao. Only Li Zongjiu and a few elders would call Xiao Xiao this way. Ordinary people would call her housekeeper Xiao. I've long heard that there's a talented and intelligent woman in charge of Li Zongjiu's mansion. I've long heard of your great name. Headmaster Zhou, you flatter me. Xiao Xiao said with a faint smile. If it was in the past, Xiao Xiao would have knelt down to salute these Yuan kings or even Yuan emperors. However, it was different now. Xiao Xiao was the housekeeper of the White Deer Manor. If she lost her sense of propriety, she would lose face for Li Zongjiu. Therefore, Xiao Xiao's aura gradually became stronger. One day, even surpassing Song Jieyu would not be a problem. Of course, in Xiao Xiao's heart, Song Jieyu had always been his opponent. Xiao Xiao naturally left Zhou Zheng to Nangong Wuji. During this process, he didn't need to do anything. Everyone was clear about Zhou Zheng's intentions. He looked at the people from the Gu family. If something were to happen, they would be able to act as a matchmaker. However, their main purpose was to protect Li Zongjiu's White Deer Manor and let Li Zongjiu feel the sincerity of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. This was the true intention of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. It wasn't hard to see that Li Zongjiu was a person who cared a lot about relationships. For this kind of person who valued relationships, it was also very simple. Let him feel your sincerity, and at the same time, protect the things he cared about. Then, there would be no problem at all. Kuan Erishur had been living in the Mirror Moon Manor recently. The news was not well received. However, when Shueiyue heard the news, she wanted to run over and tell Kun Erishur, but in the end, she was put under house arrest in the palace. She only had time to send out a messenger pigeon. Shueiyue didn't expect that her father would put her under house arrest at this time. It seemed like he didn't want her to participate in this matter. In the face of an opponent of this level, the power of the Joyous Casino was completely useless. It was impossible for them to get on the stage. They only needed to know their place. However, the Gu family also knew about the movements in Li Zongjiu's White Deer Manor. Guyu reported this matter to Gu Chuan. It seems like Li Zongjiu isn't in the manor. What's the use of gathering these shrimp soldiers? Immediately track down Li Zongjiu's movements. In addition, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Go and contact our good friend. The corners of Gu Chuan's mouth curled into a cold smile. Li Zongjiu is still too inexperienced to play these tricks. If you want to blame someone, blame Li Zongjiu for offending so many people. At first, Gu didn't understand who Gu Chuan was talking about. However, he soon remembered a force. The Mystic Yuan sect. The people of the Mystic Yuan sect couldn't wait to tear Li Zongjiu into pieces at any time. Li Zongjiu had killed so many people of the Mystic Yuan sect. They had to take revenge for this. Since Li Zongjiu wasn't in the Sacred Flame Imperial City, this matter was even easier to handle. The Gu family's intelligence network also started working quickly. All kinds of clues pointed towards the direction of Li Zongjiu. Even if there was no news, they could directly go to the Rain Pavilion and buy information with money. This Kun Erishur has a good relationship with Li Zongjiu. Do you guys think that Li Zongjiu will come here for this guy? Gu Hai, who rarely spoke, said. The more ruthless a person was, the less he spoke. His words directly pointed out the main topic. Kidnap Kun Erishur, then force Li Zongjiu to go outside the city. After dealing with Li Zongjiu, they would deal with the White Deer Manor. They would kill everyone related to Li Zongjiu and Li Zongjiu. This was their goal. If they wanted to do it, they had to achieve true deterrence. Otherwise, they would think that they were just words. Tai Province, Tsangqiong Mountain. It was said that this mountain was once connected to the top of Tsangqiong. At the top of this mountain, one could see the entire Xingu continent. But later on, two powerful meta beasts fought here, causing Tsangqiong Mountain to shatter. At the same time, there were many abnormally powerful meta beasts in the vicinity of Tsangqiong Mountain. With the strength of these meta beasts, no one dared to approach. Tsangqiong Mountain had even become a paradise for these meta beasts. It was said that these powerful meta beasts had their own talents changed because their ancestors swallowed the blood of the two transcending heaven realm meta beasts. They broke through in one fell swoop and had their current strength. No one knew how many ancient meta beasts there were. They only knew that no matter how strong a human cultivator was, there was only death in the end. The Qilin warship slowly sailed into the vicinity of Tsangqiong Mountain. Inside, the Qilin warship's size became even smaller. The boundless aura around it was even purer than Manghuang Mountain's aura. A tyrannical power pervaded the air. Even a casual gust of wind that swept over gave off a powerful feeling. The Qilin warship seemed to be shaking under the airflow here. From time to time, a terrifying roar came from the sea of trees, like a tiger roaring in the forest. Lu Yong looked at Tsangqiong Mountain under his feet and even felt his legs tremble. Tsangqiong Mountain was the place that people who studied meta beasts wanted to come to the most. But the more they understood meta beasts, the more they didn't dare to approach Tsangqiong Mountain. This time, they were able to come here because Li Zongjiu and the others led the way. Otherwise, Lu Yong wouldn't have come to such a place. Just the aura from the surroundings was enough to make Lu Yong tremble. But fortunately, there were two primitive emperor-level meta beasts on their flying ship. Previously, they saw some flying meta beasts that seemed to want to approach here. At least, they came with the intention of scouting. But when they got closer, they felt that there were two primitive emperor-level meta beasts on the flying ship escorting them. Immediately, these flying meta beasts turned around and flew in another direction without hesitation. But the bottom of the ship held the heavenly hell python. After letting it out to have a big meal, it chose to lie down at the bottom of the ship to cultivate. The meta beasts cultivated by either eating or sleeping, constantly absorbing essence. Other than that, there weren't many other cultivation methods. But at the same time, elixir pills were also available. Li Zongjiu had to bear the burden of these meta beasts' consumption after capturing them. Therefore, Li Zongjiu had to refine some high-level elixir pills to feed these meta beasts during this period. In addition to speeding up the improvement of their strength, he could also cultivate the compatibility between these meta beasts and himself. If the compatibility was high, sometimes he wouldn't even need to use his mind power to give instructions, just like the Howling Moon Wolf King. However, this kid seemed to have been abducted. When Li Zongjiu found him, he would definitely break his legs. Roar! Suddenly, a sound wave whizzed towards the Qilin warship. It was taking the initiative to provoke the Qilin battleship. Boom! The Qilin battleship shook violently. It's the Heavenly Blaze Lion. Lu Yong couldn't help but feel nervous when he heard the sound. At the same time, he couldn't help but feel excited. This was because the Heavenly Blaze Lion was equivalent to a divine beast in the meta-beast realm. It was powerful, majestic, and supreme. Therefore, the Heavenly Blaze Lion had never allowed anyone to fly over its head. Chapter 881. If Li Zongjiu remembered correctly, the Heavenly Lion King art that he had given to his father to cultivate was the Heavenly Lion King art. He did not expect to meet a Heavenly Lion here. Therefore, Li Zongjiu could not miss this opportunity. Li Zongjiu could feel the anger of the Heavenly Lion from this terrifying roar. Boom! A flame wave suddenly came from below and became hot. A fireball the size of a house hit the Qilin battleship with a loud boom. The Qilin battleship's defensive shield was triggered. Then, the terrifying power spread throughout the entire battleship, surrounding it with flames. This defensive shield won't last long, Li Zongjiu said. The Heavenly Hell Python, who was sleeping at the bottom of the cabin, also felt the surrounding heat and woke up immediately. Boom! The Qilin battleship's defensive shield was burned through. Then, there was a sudden explosion on the battleship. Li Yun immediately landed the Qilin battleship. The Sky Blaze Lion King was not to be trifled with. Just by passing by, he had been targeted. It was bombarded by the Qilin battleship. Then, the Qilin battleship slowly landed. But just as it was about to land, the Qilin battleship exploded with a loud boom. Then, a powerful flame bomb swept over and blew the Qilin battleship up. The Heavenly Hell Python's body wrapped everyone up. The surrounding flames were not enough to break through the Heavenly Hell Python's defense. You guys be careful, Li Zongjiu just reminded them. Then, he felt an extremely powerful force rushing out from the forest at an extremely fast speed. Boom! The huge figure that rushed out bit the Heavenly Yama Python's neck and dragged the Heavenly Yama Python's body away. As it bit the Heavenly Yama Python, it rushed out with the Heavenly Yama Python's huge body. Boom! After falling to the ground, the Heavenly Hell Python was enraged. I am a primitive emperor-level meta-beast. Do you think you can bite me to death? Immediately, the Heavenly Hell Python's body coiled around the Heavenly Hell Lion's body. But the Heavenly Hell Lion's strength was too strong. In an instant, its claws slapped the Heavenly Hell Python's head to the ground. Its other hind claws left a long gash on the Heavenly Hell Python's body. Roar! Suddenly, the Heavenly Hell Python's body was engulfed in flames from the Heavenly Hell Lion's mouth. With such a ferocious and suicidal fighting style, it was clear that the Sky Hell Emperor Python was no match for the Sky Blaze Lion. But, the Heavenly Hell Python's to protect its own life. Immediately, a golden light was released from the heavenly hell python's body. The heavenly hell python's king became a golden hell python king heavenly golden lion. Knocked the heavenly hell python's body! Exclamation point. It finally broke free from the Sky Blaze Emperor Lion's control. However, in just a few moments, a few terrifying wounds appeared on the Sky Blaze Emperor Python's body. Li Zongjil and King of Fire also walked out. Beside him were the two black-winged blood shadow condors. Li Zongjil tossed an elixir to the heavenly hell python. Although it was only a 5th-grade elixir, it was enough to help the heavenly hell python recover faster. Seeing so many enemies appear on the opposite side, Zhang Xian was shocked. The majestic gaze of the Sky Blaze Royal Lion froze. At the same time, the luxuriant mane on its body trembled and fluttered with the wind. He could feel the terrifying power surging out. There was only extreme disdain in the Sky Blaze Lion's eyes. The only person who posed a threat was the skinny girl. Other than that, the rest of the people were nothing in its eyes. It's really quite stressful. Li Zongjil rubbed his nose. When he faced the Sky Blaze Royal Lion, he could clearly feel the pressure. However, Li Zongjil was a person who challenged the 4 dragon tribe sovereigns in his previous life. This bit of power was quickly swept away by Li Zongjil. Instead, the stronger you were, the more Li Zongjil wanted to subdue you. This was Li Zongjil's goal, to find a powerful meta beast. The desolate heaven essence appeared in his hand. Li Zongjil signaled the 2 black-winged blood shadow condors to attack. According to the original intention of the 2 black-winged blood shadow condors, they would definitely not provoke the big guy in front of them. However, Li Zongjil had already given the order. The black-winged blood shadow condors could only bite the bullet. As the 2 black-winged blood shadow condors crossed each other, their bodies abruptly charged into the air. The instant they spread their wings, a terrifying power was released. The surrounding light immediately dimmed. It was as if the light in this area was rapidly dimming. It became the state of night. The Sky Blaze Royal Python was naturally unconvinced. It immediately hid in the dark, ready to launch a sneak attack. Boom! On the Sky Blaze Royal Lion's body, a terrifying flame burned between its 4 limbs. As the flame flowed, its entire body was engulfed by the flame. The surrounding light that was devoured immediately appeared. It was as if it was illuminated. Li Zongjil directly attacked from the front. The desolate heaven essence in his hand smashed onto the ground from 50 meters away. Boom! 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 The ground instantly cracked into 2 halves. The terrifying power rushed towards the Sky Blaze Royal Lion's body and immediately reached the front of the Sky Blaze Royal Lion. However, the Sky Blaze Royal Lion slapped forward with its claws. The power of the desolate heaven essence was smashed into the ground. So strong. When Li Zongjil saw the Sky Blaze Royal Lion, he knew that it was indeed the king of the forest. It was enough to see that the Sky Blaze Royal Lion did not panic in the face of so many enemies. Furthermore, it seemed as if everything was under its control. Suddenly, the black-winged blood shadow condor rushed out. Its sharp claws viciously scratched the Sky Blaze Royal Lion's body. However, it only scratched the surface of the Sky Blaze Royal Lion's body. At the same time, the claws seemed to have dipped into magma. The entire claw was burned. Fortunately, the black-winged blood shadow condor's body was of the cold attribute. It forced the flames on the claws down. The Sky Blaze Royal Lion's body suddenly leaped up and grabbed towards the sky. It ambushed the black-winged blood shadow condor from midair. Boom! After crashing onto the ground, the 2 behemoths started fighting again. However, this time, it was obvious that the Sky Blaze Royal Lion was on top, pinning the black-winged blood shadow condor below. The Sky Blaze Royal Lion was about to bite off the black-winged blood shadow condor's neck. The Sky Blaze Royal Python, which was hiding in the dark, rushed out. It bit the Sky Blaze Royal Lion's leg. Roar! The Sky Blaze Royal Lion could not help but roar. Right now, the three beasts were fighting. However, after fighting for a while, although the Sky Blaze Royal Lion's body was covered in wounds, it successfully stepped on two meta beasts. It exuded the majesty of a peak emperor. The King of Fire walked towards the Sky Blaze Royal Lion. The Sky Blaze Royal Lion looked at the King of Fire in front of it. Its eyes were extremely solemn. In the eyes of the Sky Blaze Royal Lion, everyone was just a gust of energy. However, the energy in the fire ghost's body was extremely strong. It was extremely dazzling. The Sky Blaze Royal Lion could not help but take it seriously. Let me do it. Li Zhongjiu walked in front of the King of Fire. He stared at the Sky Blaze Royal Lion in front of him. The King of Fire was stunned for a while. Then, he retracted his aura. He also wanted to see what Li Zhongjiu was capable of. This was an emperor amongst the primitive emperor-level meta beasts. If he could not subdue it with his own strength, it would be difficult to subdue the Sky Blaze Royal Lion. When the Sky Blaze Royal Lion saw Li Zhongjiu walking towards it, its eyes were filled with disdain and contempt again. Even a weak human like Li Zhongjiu could be easily slapped into two with a single swipe of its claws. However, in the next moment, the Sky Blaze Royal Lion's eyes suddenly revealed a tinge of shock. Chapter 882. From the weak human in front of him, he could clearly feel an extremely powerful force. At the same time, a terrifying pressure descended upon them. It landed directly on its body. It wasn't just a pressure. The Sky Blaze Lion immediately felt the power that exploded from Li Zhongjiu's body. One force. Two forces. Three forces. The Sky Blaze Lion's eyes were immediately filled with shock. At this moment, Li Zhongjiu was truly going all out. The three Dragon Soul Origin Spirits exploded at the same time. With such a terrifying force gathered, even the Sky Blaze Lion dared not ignore it. If you're not convinced, I can only beat you until you are. Li Zhongjiu held the Desolate Heaven Essence in his hand. His left hand was also forming a series of seals. At this moment, a terrifying power gathered around his body. Mountain-toppling golden seal. With one move, golden light shone brightly. A golden palm print fell towards the Sky Blaze Lion. The Sky Blaze Lion's eyes were filled with shock. This force was indeed powerful. If it continued to stay where it was, it would be hit. But if it dodged, wouldn't that mean that it, the Sky Blaze Lion, was afraid of this lowly human in front of it? Hence, the Sky Blaze Lion chose to take it head-on. Roar! Its dignity as a beast emperor was not to be challenged. The Sky Blaze Lion's body immediately exploded with a terrifying flame and rushed towards the force in front of it. As the two forces collided, the earth shook and the mountains shook. It was as if the heavens and earth were falling apart. In terms of strength, Li Zhongjiu was naturally inferior to the Sky Blaze Lion. However, the three dragon souls had descended. The Blood Dragon Soul was the main attack. The Golden Dragon Soul was the main defense. The White Dragon Soul was also carrying out a spiritual attack. In such a situation, its strength was also rather terrifying. The three dragon souls cooperated with each other. At the same time, their strength stacked together and caught the Sky Blaze Lion off guard. Now, the White Dragon Soul and the Golden Dragon Soul had already broken through to the Origin Emperor realm. The power of the Blood Dragon Soul was constantly increasing, and with the support of the power of the Blood Soul Hell. Because it was the power of the dragon tribe, it was born with a spiritual pressure, which was enough to make the Sky Blaze Lion Royal feel that it was difficult to walk. But he was unwilling. He was also the king of this forest. Why should he lower his head to others? When Li Zhongzhou's desolate heaven essence, which was imbued with the power of the obsidian fire, struck the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign's body, the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign finally understood that the terrifying power of the youth in front of it was something the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign could not withstand. Boom! Boom! The Skyblaze Lion Sovereign's resistance clearly weakened. On the other hand, Li Zhongzhou's attacks were unusually rhythmic. He was full of battle experience, and with the hidden dragon technique, Li Zhongzhou's body was extremely ethereal. As he moved, the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign had no way of hitting Li Zhongzhou. Of course, the power released by the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign had gradually forced Li Zhongzhou to retreat. Furthermore, the flames that scattered in all directions caused Li Zhongzhou's body to be covered in injuries. Under the entanglement of the three dragon souls' dragon claws, the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign was in front of him. Even the surrounding meta beasts did not participate in this battle. They only watched from the side. The two of them fought for nearly an hour. The surrounding vegetation and rocks were all smashed to smithereens. Boom! With the final strike, Li Zhongzhou smashed the desolate heaven essence on the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign's head. It had already knocked the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign to the ground. The Skyblaze Lion Sovereign was already covered in injuries. The final strike had also exhausted the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign's strength. Its huge body fell to the ground, panting. It's not over yet. Li Zhongzhou looked at the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign. Although he had already used his combat power to knock the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign down, he had yet to sign a contract with it. Li Zhongzhou immediately landed in front of the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign. In the next second, the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign's mental strength was absorbed into Li Zhongzhou's mental strength. Boom! The Skyblaze Lion hadn't expected that it would be pulled into a strange place right after being beaten up. The white dragon's soul naturally appeared in this spiritual hell. With the power of the white dragon's soul, it was enough to be the main soul in this spiritual hell. In the eyes of the others, Li Zhongzhou had meditated in front of the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign for about an hour. He stood up again. During this process, the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign and the Black-Winged Blood Shadow Condor did not move. They sat in their original positions. They were also guarding with a defensive posture. After an hour, Li Zhongzhou stood up. The Skyblaze Lion Sovereign also stood up. Then, under the horrified gazes of Li Yun and the others, Li Zhongzhou turned his body around and faced the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign with his back. In the eyes of the meta beast, this was a piece of meat that had been delivered to its door. It could easily devour you in one bite. Be careful. Li Yun could not help but exclaim. How could Li Zhongzhou do such a careless thing? The Skyblaze Lion Sovereign was no joke. If it bit down, it would directly bite off your head. However, the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign only stood up and shook its fur. On its majestic face, it opened its mouth and revealed its teeth. The King of Fire's slender eyebrows twitched slightly as he looked at the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign. However, the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign quickly followed Li Zhongzhou and walked out. It actually followed behind Li Zhongzhou so obediently. At this moment, no one dared to believe it. Their eyes were wide open. Lu Yong and Su Baichuan were already completely stunned. The huge Skyblaze Lion Sovereign was like a tamed meta beast as it followed behind Li Zhongzhou. The Skyblaze Lion Sovereign also moved its body and moved in front of the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign. Roar! The Skyblaze Lion Sovereign roared at the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign, and the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign immediately moved to the side. Obviously, in front of the Skyblaze Lion Sovereign, even though it had submitted to Li Zhongzhou, it still had its own dignity and status. How dare a mere snake hang around in front of it? It really did not know what was good for it. Even though it had been tamed, it was still in the position of the boss. The two Black-Winged Blood Shadow Condors also appeared at the side. In just a short period of 3 days, He had already tamed 4 meta-emperor-level meta-beasts. In the eyes of others, this was simply a miracle. As for Lu Yong and Su Baichuan, they had witnessed this scene with their own eyes. After experiencing such a strange experience in the past 3 days, one person could actually tame 4 meta-beasts. No one dared to believe that such a thing could happen. Oh my god, you actually defeated this big guy. When Li Yun saw the Sky Blaze Lion Sovereign, her eyes were filled with shock. She was also filled with affection and wanted to go up and touch the majestic and domineering Sky Blaze Lion Sovereign. However, the Sky Blaze Lion Sovereign also glared at Li Yun, scaring Li Yun so much that she retracted her hand. However, after being glared at by Li Zongjiu, the Sky Blaze Lion Sovereign also lowered its head. Li Yun then went up to touch it in surprise. The Sky Blaze Lion Sovereign had never thought that it, one of the overlords of Tsangqiong Mountain, would actually be touched by such an ordinary human girl. If the other meta-beasts in Tsangqiong Mountain found out about this Sky Blaze Lion Sovereign would probably be too ashamed to return. Let's go back. Li Zongjiu was satisfied. But our Qilin worship has been destroyed. How can we go back now? Li Yun couldn't help but ask. The Qilin worship was directly destroyed by the Sky Blaze Lion Sovereign. Now that there were so many people, in addition to these huge meta-beasts, if they were to bring them back, wouldn't it cause a huge commotion in Holy Flame Imperial City? If it was especially eye-catching, there might be unexpected trouble. That's a problem. Li Zongjiu was also worried. Moreover, the return distance was also far. If they were to fly back directly, who knew how much time it would take? Just as the few of them were worried. Suddenly, they heard a roar coming from the sky above their heads. They must be nearby. Such an intense battle must be between 2 meta-beasts. We just have to find them. Now that it has calmed down, both sides must have suffered great losses. A conversation was heard. Then, with a swoosh, a few figures fell down. Boom! Boom! When the 5 of them fell down from the flying boat, they immediately saw the huge formation in front of them. And Li Zongjiu and the others just happened to see the 5 of them fall down. Then, they looked at the flying boat above them. It's the jungle hunting group, Lu Yong said lightly. Then, there was a sense of pity in his eyes. Chapter 883. The jungle hunting group was quite powerful. They were rather powerful themselves. They roamed around the forest specifically in order to find some precious meta-beasts. Then, they would hunt and obtain the precious meta-beasts' body parts. Furthermore, the flying boats prepared by these forest hunting groups were all extremely large in size. When the 5 of them landed, they saw the Sky Blaze Lion first. Fuck, Sky Blaze Lion. Fuck, Sky Blaze Python. Fuck, 2 Black Wind Blood Shadow Condors. This is a gathering of meta-emperors and meta-beasts. Fuck, there are still people here. When they saw Li Zongjiu and the rest, they never thought that there would be so many people here. What was going on? Could these people be meta-beasts in disguise? Otherwise, how could they get along so well with the meta-beasts and stay together without fighting? It was really strange. You're the captain, right? I'm here to discuss something with you. Li Zongjiu said to a middle-aged man with a full beard. The middle-aged man's heart skipped a beat. This meta-beast can even talk. After a while, Li Zongjiu and the rest boarded the spaceship. The spaceship was much bigger than the Qilin battleship. Therefore, the 4 meta-emperor meta-beasts were arranged to board the spaceship without any problems. As for the jungle hunting group, they also received Li Zongjiu and the rest warmly. Of course, they had to be warm. Otherwise, they might just throw them off the spaceship. Fortunately, Li Zongjiu and the rest were very reasonable. The members of the jungle hunting group didn't dare to imagine that someone would come to such a place to tame a meta-beast. Moreover, It was the Sky Blaze Lion. They had only detected the commotion because it had lasted for such a long time. Perhaps it was an evenly matched opponent. As long as they rushed out at this time and casually picked up some benefits, it would be enough for the jungle hunting group to live happily for a long time. However, this time, they saw how powerful these people were. They actually caught the meta beasts alive. They didn't dare to make any guesses about the background of these people. They only knew that they couldn't afford to offend these people. Therefore, he only needed to be obedient. The moment he heard that these people were heading to the Sacred Flame Royal City, he knew that they were not simple people. We need to change a part of our flying boat. We'll land in Black Rock City for about an hour, the leader of the jungle hunters said. At the same time, he also looked at Li Zongjiu. Although Li Zongjiu was young, he was the leader of these people. If anything happened, they just needed to communicate with Li Zongjiu. All right. Li Zongjiu nodded. There were a total of 6 people in this jungle hunting group. One of them was the pilot who was in charge of bringing up the rear. After all, this flying boat couldn't fly around on its own. Li Yun was also interested. She hid in the pilot's cabin and learned from him. It was almost dusk. Li Zongjiu and the rest also wandered around Black Rock City. Of course, those meta beasts were also placed on the flying boat. These people from the jungle hunting group didn't dare to say that they could escape with the 4 primitive emperor-level meta beasts. They could tear the flying boat apart with just a thought. Li Zongjiu came to the relay station and wrote a letter to Zheng Haoren from Cerulean Wave Giant City to bring some people and parts to the Sacred Flame Royal City. Li Yun's Qilin battleship was burned down. Of course, most of the things were still there. It just needed to be repaired before it could be used again. Otherwise, Li Zongjiu would feel embarrassed looking at Li Yun's sullen face. Outside the Sacred Flame Royal City, in front of a mountain range, the Gu family and the Xian Yuan sect had already planned it out. Not only did they bring Kun Erishur here, they also sent many people to search for Li Zongjiu's whereabouts. It would be best if they could catch Li Zongjiu off guard and attack him. Otherwise, if Li Zongjiu summoned enough friends, it would be difficult to deal with him. This kid is from Kun Castle. Let's beat him up first, Gu Chuan ordered. At this moment, Kun Erishur was tied up on a diamond pillar. An elite cloud guard obeyed the order and stepped forward to give Kun Erishur a good beating. As long as you beg for mercy and cooperate with us to bring Li Zongjiu here, I can consider letting you go for the sake of Kun Castle. Gu Chuan came to Kun Erishur and said, "Let me go. I'm afraid you guys still don't understand the situation." A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of Lan Kun's mouth. The clothes on his body had been torn apart by his opponent's strength, revealing his tanned and muscular skin. A martial artist must have a good physique. Not only that, everyone should train their body. Only with a good physique would they be able to withstand such a vicious beating. You're quite stubborn. I think the Xian Yuan sect wants to kill you. Do you think you can survive until now if I didn't protect you? Gu Chuan looked at Kun Erishur and said indifferently. You guys better run away. Once my boss comes, you won't be able to escape. Kun Erishur spat out a mouthful of blood as he looked at Gu Chuan and said in disdain. He didn't care about Gu Chuan's threat at all. So what if he died? What was there to be afraid of? However, it was impossible for him to betray his brothers. Stubborn. Let's continue, Gu Chuan said as an elite cloud guard punched him again. Bang! 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 He had suffered quite a bit. Just when Gu Chuan and the others were waiting in the formation, Gu Yu's figure flew over. Found them. Li Zongjiu and the others appeared in Black Rock City an hour ago. They rode on a jungle hunting group's airship and are heading here. When Gu Yu received the news, he was abnormally excited. He had finally found the person he was looking for. Very good. Lock onto their airship. Once they appear, shoot them down. Gu Chuan said in a deep voice. Not far away, there were a few experts from the Xian Yuan sect. There was also the sect master, Gong Wuyang. Gong Wuyang's goal was very simple. He wanted to take Li Zongjiu's life. It was that simple. He didn't want to care about anything else. Previously, he had asked the Ardent Earth sect for help. However, who knew that the inhumane Li Zongjiu would kill everyone from the Ardent Earth sect? This made Gong Wuyang very angry. At the same time, he was furious. The Ardent Earth sect didn't even have the strength to take care of one person. It was simply embarrassing. This time, Gong Wuyang had personally taken action. He wanted to kill Li Zongjiu outside the Sacred Flame Royal City. Previously, he had made an agreement with the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion to not take action within the city. However, now that they were outside the city, he wanted to see where Li Zongjiu could run to. If he didn't kill Li Zongjiu, it would be a waste for them to come all the way here. On the airship, the bearded man was the captain of the jungle hunting group. His name was Jiang Lei. Seeing that the Sacred Flame Royal City was close at hand, he finally heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Fortunately, he was about to reach his destination. Moreover, he was glad that nothing had happened along the way. If anything had happened, he would have been in big trouble. Therefore, Jiang Lei's heart was much more relaxed. Brotherly, the Sacred Flame Royal City is in front of us. According to the rules, we are not allowed to enter the city. We will drop you off at the junction outside the city. Jiang Lei said. All right, thank you. Li Zongjiu nodded. At the same time, he took out a porcelain bottle from his storage ring. Inside the bottle were the 10 Tier 5 elixir pills. Take these as your travel expenses. After speaking, he threw the bottle in his hand to Jiang Lei. Jiang Lei caught the bottle and weighed it. He was afraid that there were elixir pills inside. Just as he was about to say that there was no need to be so polite, as brothers were always helping each other out, he quickly caught a whiff of the pill fragrance coming from the bottle. Jiang Lei's face immediately changed. This was because the pill fragrance reminded Jiang Lei that the bottle contained Tier 5 elixir pills. How can I accept this? I can't accept it. Although Jiang Lei said that he didn't want it, his actions were very honest. He directly put the bottle into his storage ring. Even the subordinates at the side turned their heads, no longer looking at the spineless Jiang Lei. Careful, there's a cannon. Suddenly, a cry of alarm came from the broadcast in the cabin. The airship that had just been replaced with new parts was immediately hit by an energy cannon with a boom. The opponent's power directly broke through the airship's protective barrier. One must know that they had just replaced the parts of the protective barrier. However, the enemy's energy cannon shot out and directly broke through the energy shield. Chapter 884. Immediately, the airship fell from the sky with a loud bang. However, Li Zongjiu and the others reacted quickly. King of Fire naturally didn't need to worry. Li Zongjiu grabbed Li Yun, who was in the cockpit. Lu Yong summoned the Ice Bear Wolf, which carried him down from the sky. Su Baichuan also had his own methods. The jungle hunters also used their own methods and landed on the ground. Li Zongjiu and the others landed one after another. Who dares to destroy my airship? Jiang Lei roared out in rage. All of his belongings were instantly turned into a ball of flames in the distance. The airship had completely crashed. The other party's strength was very strong. Obviously, they came prepared. Are you okay? Li Zongjiu also put Li Yun on the ground. Flying in the sky, one must be mentally prepared to be shot down at any time. I'm fine. Li Yun shook her head and said. Then Li Zongjiu glanced at King of Fire, who landed beside him. In front. The Fire Wraith King raised his sharp chin, indicating that the other party was right in front. From the front, several figures landed and surrounded Li Zongjiu and the others. Are you here to seek revenge or to cause trouble? Jiang Lei's airship was destroyed, so naturally, he was extremely unhappy. He directly roared at the 7 figures in front of him. No matter who these people were, they naturally had to pay the price for destroying his airship. Moreover, the people behind him were already prepared to fight at any time. No matter who you are, first compensate for my airship. Gu Chuan walked out with his men, and when he saw Li Zongjiu, a glint flashed across his eyes. Although the other side had more people, and Gu Chuan only had 7 men, they did not lose out in terms of aura. Li Zongjiu, you're finally here. Gu Chuan said to Li Zongjiu. Who are you? Li Zongjiu looked at Furukawa, wondering where these people came from. They actually dared to attack them in such a situation. If these people were here to seek revenge, it was really not the right time to do so. Didn't you want our Gu clan to apologize? We're here now. Gu Chuan sneered. Li Zongjiu finally understood that these people in front of him were actually from the Gu clan. Only the 2 people in front of him seemed to have reached the 3rd stage of the primitive emperor realm. No wonder they dared to be so arrogant, directly intercepting Li Zongjiu's flying boat midway, and even knowing their route so clearly. They must have made ample preparations. Apologize to him. They directly blasted the other party's flying boat down, and they still had the nerve to say that it was an apology. Jiang Lei finally understood that they were here to seek revenge from Li Zongjiu, but they accidentally destroyed their boat. However, Jiang Lei waved his hand and let his brothers keep their weapons first. Jiang Lei couldn't be clearer about the current situation. With the current strength of Li Zongjiu's side, there was no need to worry. The appearance of the 4 primitive Emperor Realm meta beasts was enough to make these people piss their pants. These people in front of them weren't even enough to fill the gaps between the teeth of those meta beasts. However, these people in front of them didn't seem to understand the situation. Looking at the arrogant look of these people, Jiang Lei and the others were waiting to watch a good show. With a glance, Gu Chuan could tell that these people weren't in the same group as Li Zongjiu's group. Those who have nothing to do with this matter, scram. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave in a while. Gu Chuan said indifferently. Take this as your compensation for the flying boat. Scram. Then, Gu Chuan threw out a bag of purple gold coins. Using such a method to clear the area was, in fact, an act of humiliation. Keep your money and buy a coffin. Jiang Lei kicked the bag of coins back. Death was at hand, and you still don't know what's good for you. Gu Chuan's eyes suddenly turned cold when he saw that Jiang Lei, an idler in the underworld, actually dared to make an enemy out of him. Gu Chuan could only deal with all of them at the same time. He originally wanted to control the scene, and at least not cause any trouble. But now, it seemed that he had no choice but to take action and eliminate all of them. Cut the crap. Since you are here to apologize, quickly kneel down. And those who are hiding in the back, quickly come out. Are all of you rats hiding in the back? Li Zongjiu glanced at the mountain rock not far away. The moment these words were spoken, several figures rustled out from behind the mountain rock. Gong Wuliang had long wanted to eliminate Li Zongjiu. However, he also wanted to see the situation at the scene. At least, he had to wait for the people of Gu family to eliminate some of Li Zongjiu's followers. After the loss of Mystic Yuan's sect, Gong Wuliang had to ensure the safety of Mystic Yuan's sect. Therefore, it was best to avoid unnecessary sacrifices. It seemed that the people of Gu family also wanted Li Zongjiu's life. At least, he wanted to let the people of Gu family exhaust some of Li Zongjiu's strength first. After all, Mystic Yuan's sect had suffered a lot at the hands of Li Zongjiu before. But now, after hearing Li Zongjiu's instigation and provocation, he couldn't help but come out. Li Zongjiu, if you can leave safely today, I, Gong Wuliang, will send my head to your residence. Gong Wuliang came out with 3 primitive Emperor Realm elders. There were as many as 6 primitive Emperor Realm experts on the other side. Such a lineup was more than enough to attack a city. Oh. What use do I have for your head? Since you are all prepared to die, then come on. Li Zongjiu snapped his fingers. From the wreckage of the airship, 3 huge figures immediately flew out. He brought with him a terrifying aura as he descended, and when he released his aura, the Sky Blaze Lion let out a furious roar that seemed to penetrate the mountains and rivers. The roar seemed to have caused the ground to tremble. Gong Wuliang and the others sensed the meta beasts rushing over and their faces changed instantly. How is this possible? These meta beasts. Although he couldn't believe that these meta beasts were obeying Li Zongjiu's orders, there shouldn't be any traces of wild primitive emperor-level meta beasts within 1,000 miles. Looking at the place where the meta beasts rushed out, it was where the airship was previously. Obviously, these meta beasts had been staying on the airship since the beginning. Evil creature. Gu Chuan roared. Then, he attacked together with Gu Hai, rushing towards the Sky Blaze Lion that was the most threatening. Huge amounts of origin energy intertwined and collided in the air, giving off a shattering sound. The Sky Blaze Lion landed with a ferocious momentum and slapped Gu Chuan's body with its claw, sending Gu Chuan flying. Bang! The defensive inner armor on Gu Chuan's body was instantly shattered, and a sharp claw mark appeared on his chest. Gu Chuan spat out a mouthful of blood. He didn't expect this lion to be so strong. Gu Hai was in an even worse state. He was pressed to the ground by the Sky Blaze Lion's claw. The other claw slammed down and smashed Gu Hai's head into pieces. His brain juice splattered all over the ground. Such a shocking scene made Gong Wuliang and the others realize that it wasn't a good time to fight with Li Zongjiu. The power he brought was too strong. This Sky Blaze Lion was at least a 6th-stage primitive emperor. Who would dare to charge forward? Retreat! Gong Wuliang immediately took the lead and led the 3 primitive emperor elders behind him, preparing to fly into the distance. Suddenly, a huge black silhouette rushed out from the darkness. Sky Blaze Python. The huge Sky Blaze Python was actually hiding in the darkness and only launched a sneak attack at this moment. One of the Mystic Yuan sect's elders was swallowed by the Sky Blaze Python. The other elder couldn't escape in time. He was entangled by the Sky Blaze Python. Sect Master, save me! The elder who was taken away hurriedly shouted. In the next moment, the sound of the elder's body being crushed into pieces could be clearly heard even from a distance of more than 10 meters. Damn it! When Gong Wuliang came out, he had a bad premonition. Now, it came true. Sect Master, leave quickly. That elder prepared to escort Gong Wuliang away. But suddenly, a huge figure descended from the sky and clawed the elder's head. Bang! The Black-Winged Blood Shadow Condor's figure appeared and disappeared in an instant. A primitive emperor-level meta beast was already very difficult to deal with. But now, 4 of them rushed out at once. Who could withstand it? As for the 5 elite cloud guards, they were already torn to pieces by the other Black-Winged Blood Shadow Condor. This was why ordinary people were warned not to show off. If you didn't know how strong the opponent was and dared to show off, you would end up in a miserable state. Except for the heavily injured Gu Chuan and Gong Wuliang, everyone was wiped out. Chapter 885. Gong Wuliang was still alive. However, he was under more pressure than anyone else. The surrounding meta beasts were all eyeing him covetously. Gong Wuliang did not dare to move at all. The Sky Blaze Lion had already walked in front of Gong Wuliang. Its huge figure stood in front of Gong Wuliang. Gong Wuliang was the sect master of the Xianyuan sect. What kind of situation had he not seen before? However, he had never stood face to face with a 6th-grade Meta-Emperor Realm Meta-Beast. There was a Sky Blaze Lion behind it, staring at Gong Wuliang. It would spit out its scarlet tongue from time to time. Gong Wuliang had never thought that such a situation would occur. Li Zongjiu, what do you want? Kill me. The people of the Xianyuan sect will definitely kill everyone in the Li family. The consequences of killing the sect master are not that easy to bear. Gong Wuliang still wanted to use such words to scare Li Zongjiu. He did not understand the situation at all. Is that so? Fine. After I destroy your Xianyuan sect, you can continue to be the sect master in the underworld. Li Zongjiu snapped his fingers. The Sky Blaze Lion opened its mouth and spat out a flame towards Gong Wuliang. Gong Wuliang's body was immediately burned to ashes by the raging flames. Li Zongjiu, if you dare come over, I will kill him. Gu Chuan's voice came. When Li Zongjiu looked over, he realized that Gu Chuan was holding Kuan Erishur hostage. Kuan Erishur was beaten up just now and his body was covered with injuries. However, at least he was still alive. When he saw Li Zongjiu, he grinned and nodded at Li Zongjiu. Boss, why are you here? Why are you captured? Li Zongjiu looked at Kuan Erishur and frowned. Then he said to Gu Chuan. All right, let him go and I'll let you go. You only have one chance. Think carefully. When Gu Chuan heard Li Zongjiu's words, his expression kept changing. He didn't know if Li Zongjiu was telling the truth or not. But at this moment, he didn't have any other choice. Looking at Li Zongjiu's appearance, he didn't seem to be a person who would keep his word. But at least, this Li Zongjiu was someone who valued friendship a lot. It was written clearly in the newspaper. Li Zongjiu, you won't have a good ending if you make an enemy of the Gu clan. After saying that, Gu Chuan tossed Kuan Erishur to Li Zongjiu. Kill him. Just as Kuan Erishur flew out of Gu Chuan's hand, Li Zongjiu directly ordered. Immediately, the 4 primordial beasts moved. Before Gu Chuan could turn around and escape, he realized that Li Zongjiu didn't keep his word. He actually went back on his word in front of so many people. Li Zongjiu, you don't keep your word. Gu Chuan roared and was swallowed by the army of primordial beasts. As for Kuan Erishur, he was caught by Li Zongjiu. Kuan Erishur was in so much pain that he grimaced. Just the bones in his body were broken. Therefore, if one didn't have the strength to back up their words, they were all empty words. Take their storage rings. Lu Yong and Su Baichuan immediately went to take action. What did they see just now? The sect master of the mystic Yuan sect. The 2 primordial emperor elders of the Gu clan. And so many experts. They died so easily in front of them. These were all big shots that were rarely seen. Moreover, from the looks of these people, it seemed that they had been lying in ambush here for quite some time. Who would have thought that when they appeared and intercepted Li Zongjiu, they would end up in such a miserable state? This was probably something that they had never imagined even in their wildest dreams. Jiang Lei and the others who were watching the battle from the side were also dumbfounded. This was because these people had announced their names at the entrance of the cave. At this moment, they realized that these people who were courting death actually had such a background. Regardless, Jiang Lei knew that his group was not on the same side as Li Zongjiu. This was just a coincidence. What Li Zongjiu and the others had encountered was not something that Jiang Lei and the others could come into contact with. At most, they would wander around the forest and follow some primordial beasts to get some benefits based on their experience. Sometimes, primordial beasts would fight for territory and kill each other. However, they would not eat each other's corpses. Instead, they would keep the corpses as evidence to show off. At such times, they had to act quickly and strike quickly. This storage ring will be the compensation for the damage to your airship. Li Zongjiu threw out a storage ring. It was Gu Chuan's storage ring. A person of such a level would naturally have many precious treasures in his storage ring. The extremely valuable items would definitely be worth the loss of the airship. However, Li Zongjiu should at least take a look at the contents of the storage ring. What if there was something that even Li Zongjiu was tempted by? However, Li Zongjiu did not seem to care about the contents of the storage ring at all. Jiang Lei did not stand on ceremony. After all, they might not have the chance to meet again after this. Furthermore, this was indeed an opportunity to make a fortune. Although the airship was damaged, Jiang Lei had obtained an extremely rare opportunity to become rich. Hence, Jiang Lei cherished it very much. Thank you very much. Let's part ways here. Jiang Lei and the others cupped their hands and said. Since the airship was destroyed, they could only find an opportunity to build their own airship. After all, they had to continue their own business. There were still so many things to do and so many people to feed. Jiang Lei and the others left on their own and did not interact much with Li Zongjiu and the others. However, Jiang Lei and the others were really shocked by what had happened here today. There's a person called Li Zongjiu in the Sacred Flame Royal City. We must not provoke him. This was the biggest realization that Jiang Lei and the others had in mind. Several figures flew over from afar. Boom! Boom! Nangong Wuji was at the front. When he saw so many meta beasts below, he was also shocked. While he was on guard, he saw Li Zongjiu and the others standing among the meta beasts below. Aren't they afraid? Where did these meta beasts come from? Logically speaking, there should not be such powerful meta beasts around the Sacred Flame Royal City. These meta beasts were also intelligent. If they were to wander around in the center of human rights, they would be a threat to them. Someone could come and kill them at any time. These meta beasts were all experts and extremely ferocious fellows. Li Zongjiu. Nangong Wuji landed on the ground. Nangong Wuji was accompanied by many experts. Hong Shisan, Zhou Zheng, and 2 other experts in the Origin Emperor realm should have been invited by Nangong Wuji. Why are you guys here? Li Zongjiu looked at Nangong Wuji and the others who had just arrived. There was still some distance between the Sacred Flame Royal City and the Sacred Flame Royal City. He did not expect that they would know what had happened here. It's Miss Xiao Xiao. Thousand Machine Workshop found out that these people were sneaking around outside the city, so they asked us to come and check it out. Later on, the fluctuations here spread to the city, so I brought my friends here. Nangong Wuji said and then introduced 2 members from the Wuji Palace to Li Zongjiu. Fan Emperor by Fei Shuang. Soldier Blood Sword Shao Kong. Both of them were experts in the Wuji Palace and had a good relationship with Nangong Wuji. That was why they got involved in this mess. Originally, the 2 of them were slightly arrogant. However, when they saw the 4 meta beasts beside Li Zongjiu, they understood the current situation. Li Zongjiu alone was able to subdue these meta beasts. Other than that, there was no other explanation. The meta beasts before them all belonged to Li Zongjiu. Just this power alone was already extremely terrifying. Those people from the Gu family and the Mystic Yuan sect came to cause trouble, but they were all crippled by me. Li Zongjiu said faintly. He said it casually, but the rest of it was like a storm had set off in his heart. This was too exaggerated, wasn't it? They had received news that the sect master of the Mystic Yuan sect had come personally. Could none of them have escaped? I, Li Zongjiu, will remember your kindness today. If you have any problems in the future, look for me directly. You will all be friends of the White Deer Manor in the future. Li Zongjiu said to the few people, including Zhou Zheng. Although Zhou Zheng was entrusted by the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion, Nangong Wuji didn't care. If you came, you would be Li Zongjiu's friend. If you have any problems in the future, Li Zongjiu will naturally protect you. Even if you want to ask for elixir pills from Li Zongjiu in the future, it wouldn't be a problem. Hearing Li Zongjiu's words, the 2 members of the Wuji Palace beamed with joy and thanked him repeatedly. Shrink a little. Li Zongjiu said. Then, the meta beasts began to shrink their bodies. These meta beasts would only reveal their true forms when they were in battle mode. Once they revealed their true forms, it would also bring some trouble. At the very least, they would be discovered by the enemy. Everyone was shocked. The group of people walked into the sacred flame royal city. These city guards wouldn't be able to stop any one of them. Chapter 886. When he returned to the White Deer Manor, he discovered that there was an expert sent by Song Jiayu. Li Zongjiu naturally thanked him. These people who could help were people he could make friends with in the future. At least when facing the Gu family, these people had the guts to stand by Li Zongjiu's side. Just this point alone was enough reason for Li Zongjiu to protect them. The Li family needed to develop. Therefore, making friends with these people was necessary. After returning to the Li family and handing over the meta beasts to Lu Yong, Li Zongjiu also specially sent the King of Fire back. On the other hand, the Fire Wraith King stretched his body lazily, then counted with his fingers. Back then, we agreed that I would pay you 1,000 upper-grade primordial stones each time I helped. Now, you owe me a lot of upper-grade primordial stones. The King of Fire looked at Li Zongjiu and said, "How much do you want?" Li Zongjiu was already prepared to be extorted by the King of Fire. It didn't matter how much money it cost. Anyway, the meta beasts had been caught, so there was nothing to be regretful about. At least 3 years. For the next 3 years, I will have to eat and drink with you until I suffer a loss. The King of Fire looked into Li Zongjiu's eyes and said. At this moment, even the King of Fire couldn't believe that he actually said such a thing. He didn't want to stay in the Ghost King Palace, but went to Li Zongjiu's White Deer Manor. Even the King of Fire didn't know what he was thinking. He just said this subconsciously. At the same time, the King of Fire was very worried that Li Zongjiu wouldn't agree. The King of Fire thought that if Li Zongjiu didn't agree, he would never see Li Zongjiu again today. Okay, I will arrange an independent courtyard for you. After all, I have a lot of courtyards here. When Li Zongjiu built this place, he specially left a place empty. In the future, if Li Zongjiu invited any powerful guests, they would stay here. The first expert to move in was actually the King of Fire. The King of Fire actually stayed in the White Deer Manor. Of course, he would occasionally return to the Ghost King Palace to handle some matters. Of course, he didn't need to go there every day. After all, the King of Fire had already formed its own independent system. In addition, the King of Fire, there was no one who dared to mess with the King of Fire. When Nangong Wuji first saw the King of Fire, he had some doubts in his heart. Although the King of Fire's attire was different from the rumors, at least he had a feeling that it was the same. After asking Li Zongjiu indirectly, Nangong Wuji finally understood how terrifying Li Zongjiu's White Deer Manor was. Besides, Kun Arashi's injuries were only superficial. After recovering his Yuanli, it would be very easy for him to nurse his body back to health. However, the matter of the Gu clan wasn't over yet. The matters in the manor were also handed over to Xiao Xiao to arrange. Outside the manor, Li Zongjiu had also found Tai Feihe. He ordered his men to go to the mountain and bring back all the heads and corpses that could still be found, and send them to the Gu clan. When the Gu clan saw the corpses being sent back, they knew that they were in trouble. Some of the elders of the Gu clan also panicked. Only Gu Yu sat in his chair and sighed. Our Gu clan is going to die. Even the Gu clan couldn't get rid of Li Zongjiu. How could they hope for any other way? Now that things have come to this, we can only ask for a compromise. Gu Yu let out a long sigh. Although they hadn't taken revenge for the Ancient One, they had to see the situation clearly and see if they could take revenge today. That Li Zongjiu was so vicious, and he didn't know where he found so many helpers. Even the elders from the main Gu family were dismembered like this. What? You want our dignified Gu clan to compromise with this brat? How can the Gu clan keep its face in the future? Some of the more conservative elders of the Gu clan immediately slammed the table and stood up. They absolutely couldn't tolerate such behavior. Even if they had to die in battle, they wouldn't let such a thing happen. The Gu clan has been passed down for hundreds of years. How can the reputation of the Gu clan be destroyed just because of Li Zongjiu? Since we can't do it ourselves, let's spend all our wealth and hire someone else to do it. Obviously, the decision had been made. No matter what, they had to cripple Li Zongjiu. The Gu clan didn't have anyone left, but at least they still had money. A large clan with many years of history was no joke. There might not be many purple yuan and gold coins in the treasury, but there were many valuable things. As long as the price was right, there would be no need to fear that no one would be willing to buy them. Guyu looked a little hesitant. He had some connections with some of the assassin organizations on this continent. Those ancient assassin organizations weren't as brazen as the Celestial Rain Pavilion, nor were they willing to expose themselves to the public. Family head, there's no turning back now. Li Zongjiu must die. The elders voiced their opinions one after another. If Li Zongjiu didn't die, the Gu clan would lose its status. Without status, the elders would be worthless. Everything had happened too quickly, and the elders weren't prepared for it. Guyu thought of the Ancient One, who was still lying on his bed and hadn't woken up yet. At this moment, he seemed to have made up his mind. Looking for an assassin? What's the price? Just as Guyu was about to make a decision and immediately send someone to handle this matter, suddenly, he heard a voice coming from the door. Who are you? Who let you in? Get out! An elder sitting at the side immediately stood up and berated Li Zongjiu when he saw him walk in. Guards, throw him out. However, after shouting for a long time, no one came forward. Guyu's expression changed when he saw who it was. Li Zongjiu. When the elder who had just stood up to berate and expel Li Zongjiu heard Guyu's words, his face immediately turned ashen. He never thought that the person in front of him was actually Li Zongjiu. You're Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu walked forward naturally and gestured for the elder to leave. Then, he moved his chair over and placed it in the middle of the hall. He sat down facing Guyu. Tell me, how do you want to settle the scores from these few days? The rest of the elders looked behind them and realized that Li Zongjiu did not bring anyone with him. Instead, he came alone. His courage was really big. He actually dared to walk into the Gu clan's headquarters alone. Wasn't he looking down on the Gu clan too much? How do you want to settle it? You've killed so many people from the Gu clan. How do you want to settle it? If you have the guts to come alone today, don't blame us for being rude. Third Elder Gu Mengliang stood up and said. He activated the Yuan power in his body and took a step forward, assuming an attacking posture. Everyone, the enemy has already killed his way to our doorstep. How can we let him continue to be arrogant? Kill him. Gu Mengliang was already prepared to fight with his life on the line. However, the other elders were also shocked at first. However, there were a few who had the same temper as Gu Mengliang and they all released their auras. Stop! Seeing that they were about to take action, Guyu hurriedly said. Li Zongjiu looked like a fool, yet these people were still so reckless. The Li Zongjiu before them must have come prepared. Therefore, they definitely couldn't be deceived by Li Zongjiu's calm appearance. Patriarch. Gu Mengliang looked at Guyu. His life and death enemy was right in front of him. Inviting the other party to his doorstep was clearly a provocation. Could it be that he was here to drink tea? Li Zongjiu, what do you want? Guyu said in a deep voice. At the same time, he gestured for the others to calm down. I'm here to give you a chance. Forget about apologizing. Just directly compensate. Hand over all the things that your Gu clan has collected over the years. Then, I'll consider it as forgiving. Otherwise, I'll kill everyone in your Gu clan. Not a single one will be left alive. Chapter 887. Li Zongjiu's attitude was indeed a little too arrogant. The Gu family was not some third-rate small family. Their current status was obtained through the use of real swords and spears. How many years had it been since they had been threatened and provoked like this? Could it be that Li Zongjiu really thought that he was invincible? Their Gu family was a family clan that had settled down for many years. Now that they had encountered Li Zongjiu's provocation, they naturally wanted to kill Li Zongjiu. They could even dismember him. However, Guyu knew that Li Zongjiu wouldn't do such a reckless thing. He definitely had a backup plan. Since you want to negotiate, you should at least find a more reliable condition, Guyu said in a deep voice. He stared at Li Zongjiu. Looking at Li Zongjiu's appearance, he didn't seem like he was here to negotiate. He didn't know what Li Zongjiu was thinking when he asked for all of the Gu family's wealth. Reliable? Li Zongjiu seemed to think for a moment. Then, he glanced at the elder who had told him to scram. He went forward and stood in front of the elder. The elder was stunned. What was Li Zongjiu trying to do? Could it be that he wanted to kill him in front of so many people? Li Zongjiu directly grabbed the elder's ear and threw him to the ground. When the elder fell to the ground, a bright red patch could be seen on his ear. He had actually pulled off the elder's ear. Ah! The elder who had rolled to the ground immediately covered his ear and roared in pain. Following that, the desolate heaven essence in Li Zongjiu's hand smashed into the elder's leg with a bang. This time, the bones in the elder's leg were shattered. Another scream that sounded like a pig being slaughtered rang out. The elder who was lying on the ground was in so much pain that he couldn't even make a sound. In the end, he fainted after resisting with great difficulty. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Li Zongjiu actually dared to make the first move. The rest of the people were also extremely shocked. However, there were also some elders who reacted and rushed forward. How dare you disregard the dignity of my Gu clan? Watch me destroy you! Gu Mengliang roared and leaped toward Li Zongjiu. His palm flashed and fell toward Li Zongjiu's head. Who would have thought that while his figure was still in mid-air, he would feel a cold wind sweeping past him? When he turned his head, he saw that a huge python had unknowingly taken up residence on the roof. It opened its mouth and bit Gu Mengliang's body. Gu Mengliang was only at the Yuan King realm. How could he withstand the attack of the heavenly hell python? Immediately, the heavenly hell python bit Gu Mengliang's body into two halves with its fangs. Boom! Boom! The heavenly hell python didn't eat Gu Mengliang. After all, Gu Mengliang was only at the Yuan King realm. Such a meal was only junk food in the eyes of the heavenly hell python. The third elder, Gu Mengliang, who had bravely advanced, was cut in half just like that. Everyone couldn't help but gasp when they saw this scene. Once again, they looked at the heavenly hell python on the roof. It turned out that they had already been controlled by Li Zongjiu. The speed of the Yuan beast's attack had already exceeded everyone's imagination. An ordinary Yuan King realm Yuan beast simply couldn't reach such a level. What kind of Yuan King realm Yuan beast could bite Gu Mengliang in half with just one bite? A Yuan King realm Yuan beast. Everyone present had a look of horror in their eyes. Even the young elder, who had one of his ears pulled off and only had one leg left, couldn't move. Using his only remaining leg, he quickly moved a few times towards the distance. He even seemed to have forgotten the pain on his body. The terrifying Yuan beast that Li Zongjiu had brought along was a great shock to them. Didn't I see that you also wanted to make a move just now? Li Zongjiu pointed at the person in front of him. An elder, who was sitting in front of him, hurriedly waved his hand. Just now, he had indeed followed behind Gu Mengliang and said that he wanted to suppress Li Zongjiu. However, after seeing Gu Mengliang's corpse and the blood that flowed out was still hot, he didn't dare to say anything. If Li Zongjiu wanted to make a fuss and let the meta beast bite him, he would probably end up in the same or even worse state. Just thinking about it made him feel extremely pained. That was you. No, no, it wasn't me, Li Zongjiu pointed at a few people. These elders also waved their hands and expressed that they were willing to negotiate. This made it much easier for Li Zongjiu. He nodded his head indifferently. You are the head of the Gu family, right? Do you have any other opinions about my conditions? Li Zongjiu looked at Gu Yu and said. Although Gu Yu didn't believe that Li Zongjiu would really dare to kill everyone in the Gu family in the Sacred Flame Royal City, Gu Yu didn't dare to use such a risky opportunity as a bet. What if Li Zongjiu was really that kind of crazy person? No, Li Zongjiu's current behavior was definitely crazy. However, once he agreed, he would have to give up almost 50 years of the Gu family's savings in the Sacred Flame Royal City. What else could he not do if he used these savings to exchange for his own life? Gu Yu gritted his teeth. All right. I agree. This time, the Gu family has lost. Gu Yu slammed his palm on the table. After he finished speaking, he felt that he didn't have the face to face the ancestors of the Gu family. If the ancestors knew about this, they would immediately climb out of their coffins and strangle him to death. Agreeing to such conditions was simply a humiliation to the country. However, the other party was so strong. He could only wait until the future to settle the score with Li Zongjiu. Saving his own life was the most important thing. Go and put everything in the Gu family's treasury into the storage ring. Gu Yu said to the great elder behind him. The great elder of the Gu family was also filled with grief and indignation. In the process of collecting, he deliberately left behind a few treasures. At the very least, he had to leave something for the Gu family. When Li Zongjiu received the storage ring, a satisfied smile appeared on his face. Li Zongjiu, you have to keep your word. Gu Yu said in a deep voice. Of course. Li Zongjiu said with a smile. Then, he turned around and walked out. He seemed to have left just like that, but when he left, he closed the door behind him. Wait, did Li Zongjiu forget something? Everyone raised their heads. Li Zongjiu had left, but the heavenly hell python was still in the room. Chapter 888. With Li Zongjiu's character, how could he just settle the matter with compensation? If compensation could solve so many problems, then why didn't Li Zongjiu work hard to earn money? Even if he was hunted down and became a wanted criminal, Li Zongjiu would definitely eradicate all these people. There was no other reason, it was because these people dared to touch the people of his Li family. Just this point alone was enough for Li Zongjiu to exterminate them. There was no room for negotiation. The heavenly hell python was also the best at and liked to do such things. Within the house, the massacre was carried out wantonly, causing the house to be filled with blood-curdling screams. It was truly horrifying. The entire Gu family was like the wailing of ghosts. However, in the rest of the Sacred Flame Royal City, there was nothing strange or different. When Li Zongjiu walked out, Li Yun also walked up. The reason why the commotion did not spread outside was because of the formation set up by Li Yun, which concealed the commotion within the Gu family. Finished talking. Li Yun looked at Li Zongjiu, who walked out alone. She curiously looked towards the direction of the Gu family. Finished talking. Li Zongjiu said faintly. Li Yun was also outside the formation just now. At such a close distance, she did not hear any commotion within the Gu family. Therefore, Li Yun did not know what happened inside. However, it was good that Li Zongjiu was fine. Now, Li Yun was not worried about Li Zongjiu at all. After all, Li Zongjiu could directly summon the 4 primitive emperor-level meta beasts with a thought. If someone wanted to cause trouble, they would first have to feel the enthusiasm of the 4 primitive emperor-level meta beasts. The second day. Some people realized that there was no movement in the Gu family. Some people who had business dealings with the Gu family also quickly went to the Gu family to investigate the situation. However, when they entered the Gu family, not a single person could be seen. It was as if everyone had disappeared. In such a huge Gu family, there was not a single person to be seen. Until now, everyone was horrified to discover this fact. The people of the Gu family were all dead. From top to bottom, not a single person was left alive. They were all killed. It was huge, but there was not even the slightest trace of blood in most of the places. It seemed that the Gu family members were all killed without going through an intense battle. Even their corpses could not be found. Judging from the surrounding traces, they should have been eaten by some giant beast. When the special envoys from the imperial city learned of this situation, they sealed up the Gu family and conducted an investigation. With such a big matter, even the head of the special envoy department, Sima Xingyan, felt that his entire head was swelling. From yesterday until now, there was only one person who had come to the Gu family. That was Li Zongjiu. Was it Li Zongjiu who did it? Right now, Li Zongjiu was incredible. Last time, he directly burned down the Lingbo Palace. He was so arrogant, but no one could stop him. It was said that the Lingbo Palace's war god, Zhang Tianfeng, was the strongest person among the youths. His fighting strength was incomparably strong, and he had never lost a battle in his life. However, one of his hands was broken by Li Zongjiu. If it was not for the Heavenly Pill Pavilion's elder who arrived in time, Zhang Tianfeng would have been beaten to death on the spot. After that, the people of the Lingbo Palace did not dare to do anything. Furthermore, Li Zongjiu was now the Heavenly Pill Pavilion's honorary elder. Who would dare to touch him? That would be making an enemy out of the alchemists of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. With a single sentence, at least half of the Sacred Flame Imperial City would not be able to buy any pills. No one would dare to sell them to you in private, otherwise, it would be making an enemy out of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Right now, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion was under the support of the Xingyan dynasty. It was going uphill with difficulty, so not many people dared to act recklessly. Those who knew that it was the Heavenly Pill Pavilion's people who were doing this had to give them some face. Most importantly, they did not have any evidence. Also, no one came to report the death of the Gu clan's people. That might be because the entire family had gone on a trip. In short, there were all kinds of situations, so there was no need to worry about it. If someone came to find them, they would deal with it properly. As for now, they would put this matter aside for the time being. However, when they were free, they would still have to make a trip to Li Zongjiu's place. At the very least, they had to make Li Zongjiu have some sense of propriety. You said that you had wiped out the entire Gu clan. Even if there was no evidence, who would not know that you were the one who did it? In the entire Sacred Flame Imperial City, only you, Li Zongjiu, would dare to do this. Zhang clan. On that day, Zhang Tianfeng was basically sent back to the Zhang clan. If one wanted to describe how embarrassing it would be extremely embarrassing. The dignified young genius of the Zhang clan was being carried back home. With one look, it was obvious that he was beaten up outside and could not return home. It was all thanks to Li Zongjiu that he ended up like this. Therefore, after Zhang Tianfeng recovered from his injuries, he prepared to find trouble with Li Zongjiu. After recuperating for 2 or 3 days, he realized that Li Zongjiu was not in the city. He had just heard that Li Zongjiu had returned. That was when he heard that the Gu clan had been wiped out. This caused the aggressive Zhang Tianfeng to instantly become dispirited. What? The Gu clan? Everyone in the Gu clan is dead? Zhang Tianfeng's eyes widened immediately. It was as if his eyeballs were about to pop out of their sockets. The last time he had been so shocked was when he learned that the Ancient One had been tortured miserably by Li Zongjiu. Although the Ancient One was not a good friend of the Ancient One, he was still a member of the Wave Over Palace. Naturally, someone had to stand up for him when he was bullied to this extent. However, in the blink of an eye, the entire Gu family was gone. This made people feel that it was inconceivable. They didn't even dare to believe it. Given the Zhang clan's strength, they naturally understood. After Li Zongjiu arrived at the Gu clan alone, the news of the Gu clan's annihilation spread. Everyone in the Gu clan seemed to have disappeared into thin air. No traces of them could be found because they were all in the heavenly hell python's stomach. Subsequently, Zhang Tianfeng was placed under house arrest by the Zhang clan. To outsiders, Zhang Tianfeng was said to be cultivating behind closed doors. This was because they were worried that Zhang Tianfeng would foolishly seek revenge on Li Zongjiu and cause a lot of trouble. However, Li Zongjiu and Zhang Tianfeng had fought before. Therefore, the Zhang clan immediately sent people to Li Zongjiu's Bailu manor with many good things in order to suppress this matter. Fortunately, Zhang Tianfeng was only an accomplice in the kidnapping of Li Zongjiu's family. Furthermore, because the Zhang clan's attitude was good and the Gu clan had already suffered, they seemed to be in an even better position. When Li Zongjiu received the gifts from the Zhang clan, he didn't even remember that he had beaten up someone called Zhang Tianfeng. Li Zongjiu's way of handling this matter was to pick one person to beat up. That would be the Gu clan's bad luck. Who asked the Ancient One to be so arrogant? Li Zongjiu couldn't be blamed. As for the rest, there was no need to beat them up one by one. That would be a waste of time. Li Zongjiu's goal was to make everyone open their eyes and see clearly. No one could touch the Li clan's people. Since the gifts were delivered, Li Zongjiu accepted them. The Zhang clan heaved a sigh of relief. They also understood Li Zongjiu's intention. In the future, everyone should remember not to offend the Li clan. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.